Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Batmosphere. 'Tis I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful co-host, DanzNewz.
'Tis I as well! Ha-ha!
Yeah, look at us, we're all godlike. And, wearing t-shirts. Anyway, Dan, how are things, man? It's good to see you.
Things are good. It's good to see you as well. Yeah, we took like a month off in between, and now is the perfect time to come back and talk some Batman. I'm real excited.
It sure is.
You and I can ramble on about everything.
Yes, we're gonna, and I'm sure we will, as we always do. Tonight is going to be even more freeform than normal, Dan. We're going to break from our usual formula. We're gonna cut out every segment except for news, which is a thing I never thought I would say on this show. But instead of chatting about a particular aspect of Batman and figuring out our definitive version, although tonight we'll do our definitive segment of fandom, I guess. We'll tell you what our favorite thing was from this event, this kind of streaming convention that happened for DC stuff over the weekend. And we were going to this show do Robin, and we were going to review Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin. We will do that next month, and hopefully it won't be a whole 2 months in between next time. We'll try real hard to get that out in time this time, but I already started it, Dan. I was way ahead, and then we found out that this was happening like the day before we were thinking about doing a Batmosphere anyway, finally, and you were like, why don't we just do Fandome? And I was like, oh, there's enough Batman stuff, and then the joke was on me, because that's most of what there is to talk about. So, for everybody watching live, welcome, thanks for being here. I know there will be some folks here tonight that don't usually watch Batmosphere that were probably expecting me. Well, not probably. I announced last week I would be doing this on the Captain Logan show, but then things changed around a little bit. So on Tuesday, we'll be doing a Captain Logan show, and likely we'll be talking more Fandome there. Some of the stuff that we don't get to here tonight. We can, if you guys in Super Chats and comments want to talk about any of the non-Batman specific stuff, we can do some of that. Okay. Dan told me before the show that he watched everything. I
watched the whole thing.
He's way ahead of the curve.
Out during the, when they were playing party games and stuff. That happened a couple times throughout the entire thing, and it was like 20 minutes long of them just playing a party game.
I watched one of those, but yeah. I watched the one where James Gunn was doing that, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, he was doing like trivia. Yeah, that was fun. But
yeah, you're right. There was a lot of filler. You know, occasionally they would just stop everything and show like fan art or something.
Yeah, which was cool. I thought that portion was cool. They had like a whole half hour, or maybe 20-minute long section where it was CNN heroes talking about real life heroes.
Yeah.
During the pandemic and all that stuff. And
I saw that on the schedule.
I liked that.
But yeah, I was busy yesterday, so I wasn't able to watch it. I was hoping to just have it on the background, but I was doing other stuff with my kids and stuff. So I was like, well, hopefully somebody will post these somewhere. And indeed, a lot of different people managed to get them on YouTube. So I watched the major stuff, and so I'm doing better than I thought I would. I was afraid I was gonna come in with just the trailers, but luckily I actually got to watch some of the panels. So the panels for all the major stuff that we're going to talk about tonight, I think we have pretty much 5 major Batman-related stories and trailers, Dan. And if you think of anything else that I missed, let me know. But it's gonna be, I guess I'll just break this down real quick and tell you guys what we're chatting about. And then there's already some super chats that have popped in. Let me say we're gonna treat this like a Captain Logan show. So if there's anything you want to make absolutely certain that we talk about and address, from anything from Fandome or anything about Batman, obviously you guys can ask any Batman related questions during this as well. And we can totally have little side conversations like we always do on the show. It's totally cool. You can leave a super chat and in any dollar amount, and we sure appreciate your supporting the channel. The channel is like 90% funded by the community these days, so you guys are absolutely wonderful for helping me out with that, and it's the reason we're able to keep the train running, so you guys are great. Thanks a bunch. But we will try to tackle some of the pre-written stuff as well. I don't have a DJ this evening, and by a DJ, I don't mean a guy that has like a boombox that plays music. I mean a guy named DJ who keeps track of all the, we're just going back to the 90s now, who keeps track of all of the comments, but Dan and I will be doing his job together, and anyway, we'll try to get to some pre-written stuff as well. So anyway, we'll go ahead and jump into this. If things are going well and you guys have a lot you want us to talk about, we'll probably be here a couple of hours. So, the first thing, well, not the first thing, I guess I'll just go down the list, but so there's going to be Snyder Cut, we'll chat about, the Batman, of course, Gotham Knights, the new Batman game without Batman from Montreal, and then we'll talk about the Flash movie, which I still say should be called Flashpoint, but whatever. And then there's the Suicide Squad movie from James Gunn, and then there's Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Is that what that's called?
Yep.
And I think that's all the major Batman stuff.
As far as I know, yeah, that's sounds correct.
Oh, good. Okay.
A plus.
So, as I'm looking at these super chats, I'm thinking that they may just dictate the order that we talk about stuff. I was going to kind of go down the list, but I wasn't expecting so much stuff right away. So, anyway, let me just make sure. Hey, Dan, say something real quick.
Hey, I'm Dan. What's
there we
going
go.
on,
Okay, cool.
Blah, blah, blah,
just,
blah, blah.
Just for a second, I thought my mixer was off and that people weren't able to hear you, but it
1, 2.
looks like everybody can hear us fine, so there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to go in the order that I'm seeing super chats, and then if after we knock those out, there's some of those other stories that we haven't gotten to, we'll go ahead and get to those.
Yeah.
Is everybody ready? I take way too long with these preambles. I apologize. Okay, here we go.
You're just one walking preamble, and I love it.
You know, I think that's true. I think I'm like the way we reboot these days, where every movie is just another chapter in an origin that never quite gets to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm James Bond, I'm Star Trek, we never quite get there. Unless you're Star Trek and you get to Beyond, and then you've like missed the entire 5-year mission. So it's like at the end of Darkness, we go, we're gonna have the 5-year mission now, and then you get to Beyond, and Kirk goes, God, I'm so tired of this 5-year mission.
We're 3 years into this 5-year mission already. And by the end of it, we'll just already be done.
Things are beginning to look very episodic. Okay.
Yeah, that line.
I love it. Okay, so anyway, Draco Aries, $10 super chat. Thanks very much. I'm really looking forward to Zack Snyder's Justice League. I hope it gets a Blu-ray release. And that's not a given, right? Like, I want to think it probably will, but
they talked about on the panel at the end, for people internationally, because HBO Max isn't an international platform yet.
Right.
So they might go the route where they do with like Star Trek Picard and Discovery and all that stuff, where they like put it on Netflix or something internationally, or maybe they're just distributing it. I thought maybe physical media might be. Well, I guess that's the big push for HBO Max, though, is like sign up to our subscription service as opposed to buying it physically.
And the thing that makes me pause and makes me not totally certain that they definitely will, at least in a timely fashion, is the whole reason that's even happening is because they wanted an answer to The Mandalorian. And Disney is not putting that on Blu-ray because they're trying to get as far away from physical media as they can, at least with their originals, because they want everybody and his dog to sign up for their streaming service. And given that HBO Max has allegedly, the rumors are, we don't have the numbers, not been doing as well as they were hoping it would, I could definitely see that. I could see either side of that. Having said that, HBO has never put out a thing that they didn't put on Blu-ray, but this is potentially a horse of a different color because it starts on a streaming service. So I don't know. There's not any way to be sure.
Just looking at precedent, like I don't know, because I'm pretty sure they put out Doom Patrol on Blu-ray, did they not? Or like, some of the DC Universe stuff ended up on Blu-ray, I'm pretty sure.
But keep in mind that all that stuff would have been likely in production before HBO Max's deal went through. I mean, before AT&T got their mitts on Warner's. That's the thing is, we can't really base too much on Warner's previous track record because they're owned by somebody else now.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, they were. I don't think without AT&T we wouldn't be getting the Snyder cut.
Well, no, that's absolutely true, and somebody needs to tell Snyder that because he either doesn't realize it or is in complete denial about that. And it's hilarious. Snyder on that panel.
I don't know.
I thought, honestly, man, like it was fun to hear from him again because it's been a while since I've listened to that guy talk. But like, first of all, he just doesn't in an interview say anything of substance, and secondly, he seemed, I don't know, he seemed either pretentious or full of himself or both. Like, he brings in a couple of people who were on the front lines of trying to get the Snyder Cut thing happening, and he's like, thanks to you guys, you know, you did the billboard and everything, and like, you know, you did all these events, and thanks to you, this is happening, and it would never happen without you. I'm like, that's true, and it's not true. Like, if HBO or if AT&T, HBO Max didn't think that there was any interest in that, obviously they wouldn't have made sure that it came out. But so, like, in that sense, yes, that had to happen. But he's acting like the company that made the movie, just out of the kindness of their hearts, because people want it, are putting it out. No, it's completely different people who made this decision. And if the people at Warner's before that had their druthers, this would have never happened. And we all know that. And so, I don't know, I just thought that was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched a lot of stuff with Zack. Like, I watched his commentaries on Man of Steel and Batman v Superman that he did a few months back, a handful of months back, before they had announced it.
Yeah.
And yeah, he definitely is relatively pretentious about some things. But I mean, what director isn't? Like, a lot of directors kind of come off that way. Not every director, obviously.
Yeah, but
James Gunn seems like a guy I want to hang out with.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
but some of them seem to more deserve it than he does. There's just a denial about him. Like, he put out that tweet, I think it was today or yesterday, where he was
Scott
like,
Mendelsohn.
I don't remember, but like he, I don't remember who he was tweeting at, but he put it at a tweet where he's like, well, you might have thought that the theatrical cut was a cartoon, but this is for adults, and I'm like, no, BVS was a cartoon for adults,
yeah.
Like, okay,
yeah,
so it's for adults in the sense that it has material in it that is not suitable for children. Like,
yeah,
it's still a pretty juvenile kind of thing, Zack Snyder.
He was
being
very petty.
I like stuff he's made. I still stand by Watchmen, and I will till the day I die. I like the look of BVS fine. I wish he had. I wish he had more coverage in both that and Man of Steel. It's like he forgot to show us to do any, you know, back off shots and show us anything before we get into a set, to the point where you don't even realize any sets were built, but they were. But beyond that, like, I don't know. I like the look. I like his choice of DPs most of the time, you know. But
yeah, Bill Pope's great.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree. And Justice League, I feel like, looks better out of all of his movies. And I do like his visual style, and I get what you mean. It is all very pretty close a lot of the time, and you don't get a lot of the sense of the area that you're in. Because I remember watching the special features on BVS, and it was all about the Batcave, and they were like talking about all these different details they put in there, and I was like, oh, I never even noticed any of these things that they're talking about.
That's the big problem with Man of Steel, is like all the stuff they did for Krypton. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. There's all this lore that was like thought out, you know. And then the Kent farmhouse. I've talked about all this before, but it drives me insane.
Well, it was a single camera shoot. They should have had more cameras. I remember them making a big deal about it being a single camera movie, and I was just like,
okay,
yeah, but I mean,
odd.
like a superhero movie, you don't really film it that way typically.
Yeah, like the big thing that Christopher Nolan always says and it's not fair to compare these guys, but the big thing that he says when people ask him what the hardest thing is about making movies, and particularly the Batman movies, is getting reaction shots. Like, remembering to put the camera where it needs to be to get all the footage that you need to get a scene put together to communicate whatever you're trying to communicate. And Snyder doesn't seem to think he needs that. Like, he just forgets that you need establishing shots and stuff. It's a problem. But anyway, I thought his panel was kind of awkward. I can tell he's really excited.
Bringing in the fans and asking them questions, that was a little. I mean, I get like highlighting the people who were leading that campaign and all that stuff, but yeah, it was a little awkward. It
was a little awkward. Anyway, let me finish reading the super chat so that we can then go to more super chats, because we have quite a few comments already. Anyway, once again, thanks everybody for being here. We've got quite a nice crowd right now. You guys are awesome for popping in. It would be great to see Henry Cavill return as Superman. Oh, by the way, real quick, I'm sorry. This is the show. We do a lot of sidebars in the show.
Yes.
I have heard for years people pronounce Henry Cavill's name as Cavill. And so many people were doing that for the longest time that I started doing it thinking I was saying it wrong. And then in Fandome, he pops in and he pronounces his own name Cavill. And I went, I was right all this time. That's how you pronounce it. The man said Cavill.
It's the Superman curse. It's Brandon Routh Ruth. I called him Brandon Ruth.
It's Reeve Reeves. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, Reeve Reeves.
You know who doesn't have that problem? Tom Wellings. No one has ever mispronounced his name.
Is it Wellings? I thought it was Wellings. See, now I would have been wrong.
No, it is Welling. That was my joke. That was
okay.
That was the joke.
That's what I was about to say. It's like the Stephen Hawkins or Hawkins. People say it like 8 different ways.
Yeah. And you know, Dan, jokes are always funnier when you explain them.
Yes, absolutely.
It would be great to see Henry Cavill return as Superman. Do you have a favorite Superman storyline? Oh, that was a turn. That took a totally different,
a few different things. Yeah.
So I'm a giant Death of Superman fan. I've always said that. People know what Superman stuff I like. I'm a big fan of Earth 1. Dan, what are some of your favorite Superman stories?
I actually, I'm not a gigantic comic book collector, and when it comes to Superman, I actually, as a kid, had more Superman comics than Batman.
Is that right?
Yeah, there was one storyline in the 90s. It's when he had the mullet. There's one storyline in the 90s where he turned into a gigantic space ape, and that was pretty cool. I liked that one. Space Ape Superman was pretty neat. No, I always thought it was funny in, what is it, Hush? Where Batman throws Lois off a rooftop when it's Krypton or Kryptonite controlled Superman, and that's what knocks him out of the Kryptonite control. Or no, Poison Ivy is controlling Superman. I always liked that. I was like, Batman does not care. He's just going to throw Lois off a building to knock him out of it.
Dan likes comics that are fun, but not necessarily good.
I like little moments, individual moments. Look, I don't know enough about Superman.
I love Tosh.
Really,
well, one of these days, we'll do like an April Fool's Day episode, and we'll pretend like this was always a Superman show, and then I'll make you read some Superman comics. But I like to plan all my best ideas just on air, while we're talking.
On a whim. I like it, though. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that actually, we should do that. That's a good idea. Anyway, so Dan, Hush was a book that I thought was cool when I was younger, and then I reviewed it at one point. I was like, oh, this is terrible. And then I realized that none of Jeff Loeb's stuff, for the most part, or at least most of it, is actually great storytelling, and it's kind of like that. But he had some really fun ideas with kind of crazy over the top stuff to do with Superman. I always enjoyed in Superman Batman his the story where they try to get rid of all the kryptonite. They just take all the kryptonite out of the planet and they throw it into space. That was fun. I forget what that's called now. But anyway,
I haven't been in a million years. Oh well, I mean, if we're still talking about the Zack Snyder's Justice League, they announced on the panel, just details wise, they announced it's going to be 4 1-hour parts.
Right. And we knew it was going to be in parts, but we didn't know how many. There had been talk about like 6 half hours, maybe, but so it's 4 1 hours.
Yeah. No release schedule for it though. Like not like they didn't say weekly or what. They just said 4 1-hour parts.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool if they put it out 4 days in a row, but I don't think they'll do that.
I doubt they will. I bet they do it weekly, just because that way you get another month out of people who are only signing up just to watch it and then cancel.
Yeah, and again, they said they wanted to be their Mandalorian, which is part of why I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, surprised they didn't go with shorter episode lengths. Like, because if they'd done like half hour or even 45 minutes, they could have gotten 6-8 episodes out of it. And Mandalorian was what, 8, 10? Like you, I
can't even remember. It wasn't too many. It was only half.
It sounds like they want several weeks out of this. So yeah, I'm surprised they're just doing 4. But it may be that they've got mostly a kind of a cut figured out, and that there just aren't good places to.
Yeah, I think Zach was talking about that when they first announced it, and he was floating the idea of parts. He was like, "There's parts where we can kind of put cliffhangers, and it's like as if we don't know what's going to happen." But Yeah.
Well, there are
I'm curious
cases
about
where
how different it is.
There are cases where we don't know what will happen. It's odd that there's some of the spoilers that are in the trailer. I guess we can go ahead and talk about that. This is going to be kind of weird with Super Chats because a lot of them are about different things coming in back and forth. So I'm kind of on the fence right now about, like, do we just talk out this one thing and then, or do we go by Super Chats? So let's talk for just a second about the actual trailer, and then we can come back to that as we go along. I think we should jump around some.
Sure.
Because
that's my favorite way to go.
Otherwise, I think we're likely to accidentally skip Super Chats. So this is going to be kind of strange for the breakdown of the video, but I think that's probably the best way to go since we're talking about a number of different things tonight. So everybody just bear with us. If you only came here for one thing, you're probably going to hear it talked about kind of throughout. So I totally understand if you want to wait for timestamps and skip around later, and I will try to get those made in timely fashion. I've been having a hard time having the time to make those lately. Okay, but I will do my best, especially on this show. So what stuff did we see in the trailer and did we hear about in the panel that we didn't know about already? The only real spoiler, and it's not even hardly a spoiler, that you got from Snyder, because somebody asked him, like, is there anything that you can tell us that we don't know already? And the nice thing is he did kind of go for something outside of the trailer, so I like that. He said, well, Flash is going to do something kind of timey-wimey. He made the he gave me the sense that there was going to be another kind of a time travel component to it, and I had been wondering if since it's not going to have, because I don't know how exactly this is working, like, I'm sure what they shot was supposed to be an attempt at kind of amalgamating what would have been his part 1 and part 2, because Justice League was supposed to be in 2 movies, and so I'm assuming that they got you to as close to the end of what he could do in a compromised way that Warner's would actually make him make, right? So my big question was, did we axe all of this stuff about the alternate despotic Superman future, where you know he's a fascist dictator and Lois dies, and like you have to follow up on that after BVS. You don't just drop that, and just because you've kind of, it seems like you've changed the timeline where that probably won't happen now, never go back to it, because it's such a weird, like, random thing that happens in that movie. Like, clearly he was setting something up, and indeed we know that originally his plan was to actually somehow get to that future, that we were going to see that all happen, or at least that's what I've read. I don't know, I mean, I think that's what was supposed to happen. So when he says Flash has some kind of a time travel thing, I'm assuming it's related to all of that.
Yeah, well, we get that shot in the trailer where you see the big Omega sign in the ground and like the post-apocalyptic, just like in BVS. That's the opening shot of the trailer. I didn't know if that was
Earth, though. I wasn't sure if, like, where we were. Oh, it was,
because they had the Hall of Justice.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
I forgot about the
thing,
Hall of
and
Justice
they had the
up.
Aquaman staff in there, and there's a Joker card that flies by.
I have 5 trailers in my head right now. I forgot about that part. Yep. So they clearly are showing you all of that. And my assumption is it's like Hero Season 1, where here's a scary future we have to prevent.
Yeah. And they actually show Flash in the trailer, in the quantum realm or whatever he is in. They show him in this kind of like weird space where it's like all dark and there's like ripples, and he's like running on top of these chunks. So you do see whatever that is.
Yeah. So he didn't actually give us anything new. He just sort of explained the thing that was in the trailer. Okay.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't have known. Like, I mean, watching the trailer, you'd be like, okay, that's what that is, kind of. But like knowing it beforehand, it was like, okay, that's. The other thing that kind of caught me off guard, and it wasn't that big of a spoiler, but during the Cyborg stuff, they showed his dad dying in a different way, or sacrificing himself in a different way than in the other movie. And I was just like, oh, why'd you show us that? Like,
Cinematographic says that's the Speed Force, Dan. But yeah, I know it's just because you're in the Speed Force doesn't necessarily mean you're time traveling.
I don't know. I don't know Flash.
Yeah.
Oh, really? So, but yeah.
But yes,
so I thought
of course.
That was kind of
so we are, and that's part of the reason that I'm a little perplexed by people, and we'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe these folks are right, but people are saying that you know, obviously this is going to be pretty much the same movie you saw with some new scenes. I don't see how, right?
With
like
4 hours though, that's like 2 extra hours on top of
and
stuff.
It's not just here's the thing. I think actually, if this was made differently, that is entirely possible, right? Because it feels like there's so much stuff cut out of that movie where like they kind of just sandwiched together sort of bullet points of what felt like a longer thing. Yeah. Where people are saying like more or less the the like bullet points of the story must be the same, but there's just a bunch of stuff in between. But keep in mind, Superman comes back to life in a completely different way in this. Like, he's in the black costume. It looks like he wears that for a while. Like he comes back differently. And it looks like Cyborg's dad dies, and he's alive at the end of that first movie, unless that's part of that
in
future.
Justice League, he does die.
Oh no, I thought he died.
Kill him.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
He still dies.
I don't even remember that.
He still dies.
Well, that's how invested I was. I didn't remember that part. But yeah, but it is different. I mean, you see him die in like a Dr. Manhattan told him to die kind of way. Which we should probably talk about the whole Watchmen connection with this too. Because they use the Hallelujah song for the trailer, which is the same Hallelujah song, the same version of it, because there's like 1900. It's the Cohen version. They put that in for this trailer, and I also thought that was almost a pretentious choice, because
a lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, do you feel the same way I do about it? It's kind of clear what that's saying. It's like, you guys have been asking for this, right? Hallelujah, we're giving it to you. Like, that's what it is, right?
It is for the people. Like, I think he is just catering to people who really wanted to see it, who fought for it, because it did seem like he had moved on from it, but this thing started, and so he like he said in the panel, like, they were driving him and he was driving them. Like, he would put out a little bit of stuff here and there to kind of drum up some attention and like keep it going. But it seemed to me like he had just kind of walked away from it.
Dan, everybody in the comments is arguing with you. It says that no, Cyborg's dad did not die in the theatrical cut.
All right, I'm wrong, I guess.
I didn't remember him getting killed by parademons.
Parademons. He got killed by parademons.
I don't think
there's a part where do you remember?
Happened.
No, there was the part where the janitor guy is cleaning at the lab, and then a parademon comes to life. He's not alive by the end of it. I don't know.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Dan.
Okay.
Miles what's his name? Miles Dyson.
Yeah, it's
from
the guy.
Terminator 2.
Right. Yep.
He just dies in everything.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Except for maybe Eureka, but I never finished that show, so I don't know if he makes it out alive at the end of that.
I never watched Eureka. Joe Morton, I love that dude. Now I gotta find
Professor Zoom says it is a pretty epic song. Well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know, and
it's
maybe
clearly for those fans.
Maybe thematically it ends up being relevant because it's like, yay, these people came together and became a team. Hallelujah! I'm not saying it doesn't match at all, but it's also weird to have a director of a thing like come in and use the same song that was in another one of his movies to advertise that movie. Like, that's kind of a strange thing to do, But yeah, like you said,
he probably oversaw everything. He probably picked the song and everything.
Well, we know he really likes picking his own music for his trailers. He did that with that Smashing Pumpkins song. The end is the beginning is the end.
That Watchmen trailer was
which
so
is,
great.
I think, maybe the greatest teaser of all time. I still think it is. But anyway, so no, I'm with you. That's there for those fans. But at the same time, they're also trying to sell it to everybody else in the sense of putting in every shot they're able to, and I don't know, maybe it will have a lot more heart than BVS did, but they're trying to give you this sense that there's a lot of camaraderie between these characters, and that there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of heart. You see these characters like smiling more in this trailer than anybody did through the entire 3.5 hours of BVS, and already as they're filming that movie, they've got to be thinking, we've got to push a little bit against what Snyder was doing with BVS so that we can so we can appease the Marvel crowd, and so it probably already was a very different movie than it would have been if BVS had performed, or if they had made it entirely before that movie came out. Because I mean, like if memory serves, the timetable is the pre-production is done, they've got the sets built, they're all ready to go, and then they start shooting like a week or two after BVS comes out, and so they already know how that performs as they're making it, but they're stuck making it because they're already there and kind of ready to go, and so they're changing a lot of stuff on the fly. Yeah,
no, I absolutely agree. They had already had to like kind of course correct before they even went into filming. I'm sorry, I'm just still scrubbing. I'm scrubbing through Justice League to see if I can find that part where he dies, but I guess maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, you're all probably right.
Yeah, I didn't remember that, but that doesn't mean anything because, like I said, I'm not, I don't know that movie like the back of my hand or anything.
Yeah, neither do I really. I haven't watched it in a good little bit. Maybe they just drop his character at some point, and that's why I thought he died. I don't know. Anyway, what do you think of the design for Darkseid and the redesign for Steppenwolf?
I think the design for Darkseid, the design, I guess, is okay. It's kind of what I would have expected if we'd actually seen that 4 years ago, because it's basically the New 52 design, but the CG doesn't look good. And I wonder if it's not done, or if that's just the best they can do for what is essentially now a TV thing, because they're having to finish effects, and I'm sure that wasn't remotely done. That has to be one of the things that they've done now, I would think. Who knows? Yeah. But that's what I would think. But yeah, that's one of the big things that everybody's complaining about, and I can't disagree with it. I got messages from people right after that dropped saying, "Oh, Cap, did you see the new Snyder Cut trailer?" Because nobody calls it Justice League anymore. For a long time, I think people forgot that the Snyder Cut was a Justice League movie. Like, all they heard about was it's the Snyder Cut, it's some DC thing. And I got messages from people that said, at first I thought it was a fan film. Like, I can't believe this is real. Did you have that? Do you think it looks pretty bad?
No, I think it looks all really good, but
wow.
I think it looks fine. Well, so in Justice League, the theatrical version, I feel like that scene was the scene that looked the best, probably because they spent the most time on it.
What scene? I'm talking about Darkseid. There was no Darkseid in that movie.
No, I know. It was Steppenwolf initially in that shot, in that scene. That is a.
Oh, was that supposed to be
the
same
movie.
Scene? Okay,
but,
I didn't pick up on that.
It's the same scene. Well, it was originally supposed to be Darkseid, and then they
made it
switched to Steppenwolf.
Okay. Now it looks like they took Steppenwolf out and they replaced it with Darkseid. I think it doesn't. I don't think it looks good. However, I was wondering if my eyes were deceiving me. I was wondering if it's just me. I thought Steppenwolf suddenly looked a lot better than he used to.
I think Steppenwolf looks great. He's all like, he has like this weird moving armor stuff.
We only saw him on screen for a couple seconds, so I guess we'll have to see what it's like when he starts talking. But his face looked more real to me. It looked more like maybe they shot it the way that I always said they should have, where they actually where they didn't do too much CG on the face, and they actually just shot a guy, because there's no reason that didn't need to be prosthetic. It didn't look as CG as it did before, but I don't know if the face anyway. I don't know if I'm right about that, because it was just for a second. It's not like I slowed it down the footage.
I'm wondering if they're going to bring back or use any of what's his name, Kieran Hines, the guy who did the voice for Steppenwolf, because there is a voice for Darkseid, and that was recorded a long time ago for the Zack Snyder version, or I don't know, the details on that are a little blurry, but there was an actor cast for the Darkseid voice. I don't know if they're still gonna, because Kieran Hines was cast not too far before the movie came out. So I'm not sure if that was a Snyder thing or not, or if they're going to use that. I had assumed they're using that voice performance still, though.
And I hadn't heard that. So yeah, I didn't know about any of that. Eric Wright says the CGI is actually good if it's an advertisement for a new video game coming to an exclusive console.
Whoa. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it looked fine, and I'm pretty picky, but it's
I'm surprised you were cool with that. Because I thought that shot wasn't great, and I thought that right after it, the shot that I had momentarily forgotten was there with the broken down Justice League headquarters. I thought that looked pretty bad too.
Yeah, I don't know. The sign? I mean, I don't know.
Kashem in the comments there says that it is still that actor. It's still Hines.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Allegedly. And Daniel Davis says, I still expect the CGI to be awkward regardless. The nice thing on their end is that they can blame it on a TV budget now. Anything that you don't like in that movie now, unless it's CG that was clearly rendered already because you can see it from the previous movie, even if we can all be pretty sure that's what would have looked like in the theater, it would be really easy for anybody involved in that movie to come back and be like, well, they only gave us $5 to fix this movie, so, or to finish this movie. So yeah.
I always figured if we were to get a Snyder cut, it would be that incomplete version, just like the Donner cut, where it's like you're watching like rehearsals and stuff like that at points, or whatever it is, like the scene run-throughs.
Or the Daredevil director's cut where you had a couple scenes that didn't even have finished effects.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought we were going to get. So I'm surprised that there's any budget behind it to begin with.
I'm not. I would be surprised by that, again, if it was the same folks from Warner's before who just changed their mind, you know, the way Snyder's pretending like they did. But because it's HBO Max, because it's AT&T, again, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and they need material. And here's the thing that they just had laying around. So they haven't for the last few months been pumping money into new things they're shooting because they haven't been able to. They had to shut down production for everything. So if you're going to put this out and you're going to treat it like a legitimate project and not like, and that's what they're doing. I mean, they're not treating it like it's just a curiosity or a fossil, even though, you know, it was made what will be 5 years ago once we get to it, once we actually get to see it.
2016, yeah, you're right.
They're like the talk from HBO behind the scenes. If you can believe the folks that have leaked stuff that the executives have been talking about, is the people at HBO, excuse me, the people at AT&T, we're hoping that if this does really well, we can keep going with Snyder's vision. They're thinking about continuing that train again, like getting him back on board and continuing things forward with him. So with respect, Dan, if they're going to make it, of course they finish the effects.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. And we have, you know, one of the news before the Fandome thing was that Ben Affleck's going to be back as Batman in the Flash movie.
Just a random, very intelligent Drake in the comments. It's not an excuse to blame it on lack of budget. That implies that they did bad CG on purpose, then are trying to hide behind that. That's not the case.
You need time and money. You need time and money for good CGI.
No, this is like, I'm sure years from now, when we hear folks that worked on this talk about it, they'll talk about how little time they had to do it. That is always the case with a thing like this, right? Like yes, all the footage is shot, although I don't know if they're doing any kinds of reshoots. Nobody really knows that, and it's also,
when they've said no, they were saying they weren't going to do reshoots with the actors and stuff.
Well, yeah, but just because they don't do any reshoots with the actors doesn't mean that they might not go get like extra B-roll and things. You know what I mean? Like cameras could roll for this in some fashion. So all I'm saying is there's a possibility, I guess, that there could be more of that. But even so, like even if there isn't any of that, it's not a whole lot of time to finish what is going to be a 4-hour miniseries, I wouldn't think. So like I guess I'm kind of giving both arguments at the same time, but like you know, it may be that that like some of the effects aren't as good as they could have been because they don't give them enough time and or money, and it could also be that, just like I thought with the Justice League theatrical cut, they do the best they can and they think the effects look good, but I think they look horrendous. You know what I mean? Like because when you say, well, you know they're not making bad CG on purpose. Well, I never said they did for the theatrical cut of Justice League either, but I didn't like a lot of it. I mean, I thought a lot of that looked pretty bad, so.
For sure.
So, yes, indeed. Anyway, so what else do we need to talk about with this? Or should we go ahead and move on to some more Super Chats, you think? And
yeah, I mean, Snyder Cut wise, I think we talked most of the details.
I'm sure it'll pop back. Well, let me just ask you this: was there anything there that you didn't know about already that surprised you? Because I'm sure there were some people that haven't been keeping up that saw a couple things in that trailer that they didn't know about that might have excited them or surprised them. You know, it was cool to get to look at that you know, black Superman suit and all of that.
Oh yeah, I like the look at that.
I do too.
I like that there was like the reveal at the very final shot. I like seeing them all standing there with the black suit and all that jazz. But then they show like what they're actually standing there looking at, and it's like the ship coming in. Because I think in the original theatrical cut, I think they're just standing there and all posing for no reason.
They stood for a picture that nobody took. Yeah.
So it's funny to see the ship coming in. Maybe that isn't the theatrical version. I don't know, but yeah, no, I mean there wasn't anything crazy surprising.
That was a new shot.
I think that was
that side profile shot with all of them, with Superman standing there with them. That's cool. That's cool. It's a pretty shot.
That was a good shot in the original version. Like it's just cool seeing them all standing there. Well, so this was the criticism that Zack had kind of was really petty about. Like Scott Mendelson, he's a guy in the media. He was just saying he had watched the leaked version of the trailer before Fandome and pretty much said, well, it looks exactly like, you know, what the advertisements from way back when.
Yeah.
Just with a couple of alternate takes and whatever. And that's when Zack kind of came down on him. But I mean, he's not terribly wrong. It is mostly the same stuff we've seen. It's just stuff that wasn't included in the original version to begin with. So
yeah. Yeah, there were a couple shots that were in the original teaser for the theatrical movie, and I'm like, why would you put that shot with Aquaman on in the water where it's rushing up on him on the pier? Why would you put that back in? It's like the first shot we had from the teaser.
Going back into the bubble. I thought the bubble was a reshoot. I could have sworn the bubble was a reshoot when they're in that little water bubble for some reason and they're talking when they can talk underwater already. And we saw that in Aquaman and in that movie, but they're like, let's hang out in this bubble and talk. So I thought that was a reshoot, but I guess wasn't.
I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, they can talk underwater.
Yeah, that part never made sense to me. Even before Aquaman came out, I was just like, why are they in a bubble?
Well, if folks bring us back to this later, that is totally cool. We'll go ahead and move on to some other things. So Lewis Cox, £20 super chat. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Hey, Cap and Dan, how are you guys?
Sounds heavy.
Doing? Yeah, I've stopped making that joke, but I was thinking it's always in there.
I don't get pound super chats. So.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well, we have a
wonderful
wonderful British audience. You guys are great. Hey, Cap and Dan, how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Oh, we're doing well. Sorry, the lack of punctuation made me think that you were talking immediately about Gotham Knights. So just how you doing? Good.
I'm doing good.
I'll give you the tick answer. How are you guys doing? Gotham Knights looks all right. The Batman movie trailer was interesting. However, the logo looked like the Batwoman logo because it's red colored. It might just be me. I can see why you'd say that. It's got the same kind of jagged thing, but it's not exactly the same logo. I like it. I think it's pretty cool.
The Batman's giving me so many Blade vibes, and that logo gives me the Blade logo vibe.
I hadn't thought that at all.
But yeah, because the Blade logo is like Impact, and it's just Blade in the movie, like Impact font. I'm gonna look up the Batwoman. Isn't the Batwoman a little bit more stylized though?
Yeah, I think so.
Like it's a little bit more sleek looking, and yeah, they have red in there, but the text is like white or silvery.
Yeah.
I mean, color schemes, yes. Otherwise, I think it looks pretty different. I like the way the A, like when it's forming in the trailer, the A has bat ears for a second, and then it slides down. Like there's a lot of little details in there that's
it's pretty cool. Well, and it seems like they're going out of their way to say, yes, this is pretty dark. It's pretty broody. It has every potential of getting a rated R, of getting an R rating, maybe. Yeah. But it will be fun. Like, don't worry. And anybody that might be worried about that, go listen to the panel with Matt Reeves, because I think he'll set everybody's mind at ease. And I don't know, he just sounds so down to earth. Like it's easy to say that, or to hear somebody say that and immediately go, well, yeah, I mean, he's gonna make it sound good because he's the director and he's trying to promote the movie. But I mean, like, it sounds like a passion project. It also, and yeah, he's saying all the right things, but he also looks like he believes all the right things, and so like I'm trusting that.
Well, when he's the one writing and directing, like you would hope that he's done his research and he had some pretty deep cut references in there.
He did, and I love. Let me say this, dude. Just backing off for a second. I love that we're getting such a completely different kind of Batman and kind of style from the Snyder version, and not just because I don't like BVS and I have issues with the Snyder's movies. Like I said earlier, I like the visual style of those. I like Ben Affleck. I like some of the character choices with that. I wanted to see that version in a smarter movie, and we may never get that now, at least as his own movie. Like so I'm not saying that everything about this looks good because it's not Snyder. I like that it's so different from anything we've ever had. But when you said it was giving you Blade vibes, this is going to sound like the dumbest thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. It was giving me Batman vibes, and I mean traditional Batman vibes. Like, my first experience with that trailer was not the same as everybody else I've talked to. Immediately, I get inundated with messages from friends and from viewers saying, "Oh my God, did you see that trailer? It blew me away. It was amazing." And it didn't blow me away immediately, and I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I think it was because I trusted it, and it was like exactly what I thought it would be. It's just like, that's what I wanted. You know, you're like, yep,
yeah,
they delivered. Yep,
yeah.
that's what it should be. Like, it felt like just the Arkham games, but not a video game, right? Like, it's just except not like quite as stylistic, right? Like it's trying to be more grounded, but even maybe more grounded than Nolan's, but in some ways more stylized than that, a different kind of style. You know what I mean? It's like it looks like the Daredevil Netflix show if it was set more out of time.
Yeah, no, I hear that. He looks he looks a lot like the Telltale Batman, just visually.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how much of an influence Telltale was, now that you're saying that. And I didn't expect to be saying that until I listened to that panel, and there's a hint.
He kind of explained too much. I feel like he maybe said too much.
Yes, but I loved how candid he was, and like, he's so excited he can't help but accidentally spoil things. And nothing hugely major necessarily, unless you haven't played Telltale, because I caught a hint in there of potentially Bruce's parents were not all above board. They were part of the corruption of Gotham, like in Telltale. And it's possible that's not the case, but he says that this is a really personal story for Bruce Wayne. For those of you that don't know about this, it's his second year, so it's not an origin story, but it's toward the beginning of Batman's career, and he is dealing with Gotham corruption while he is it's actually a detective story, and he's he's solving a bunch of murders, and it sounds like he's gonna find out something about his parents in relation to the corruption in Gotham, and I'm like, is it what we did with Telltale? And also Falcone's in it.
Yeah. John Turturro playing Carmine Falcone. Where that took me when he was talking about that, like, if you have a writer's brain, your brain already starts to kind of connect those pieces. And I was thinking maybe, and again, we don't know, but I was thinking maybe the Wayne's murder was like a hit of some sort, like they were taken out because, of a reason. Because most of the time there is no reason. It's just Gotham is corrupt and it's caused all this crime, and the crime is, that's how they die. But
Begins got around that. With the whole thing with Ra's al Ghul, like, we used the. We perpetually made the corruption keep going to try to destroy Gotham. Like, it was actually on the mend, and then we made it worse. So you've seen things get around that, but you're right. We don't always do that.
Yeah, that trailer, man, it's creepy. The vibes are creepy. It looks really, the visuals. All I wanted to see was just pictures and like a trailer or something, and this absolutely, like you said, it just felt right. It just felt like this is what it should be. This is what I thought it was going to be, and I'm so glad it is what I thought it was going to be. I
don't know if I've ever said this, Dan. And like, the more I've watched it, the more I've picked up on different things where I'm like, okay, that's exciting. That looks really cool. But like, the first time I saw it, I was underwhelmed in like the best way possible. Where I was like, yep, it's Batman. Like,
okay. Check that box.
Yep, you guys made Batman. Congrats. And then I look at a thing like that and I go, is it that hard? Because the thing is, what I have to remind myself is I'm steeped in this stuff. Like, I obviously I read Batman comics a lot, and I'm a huge fan of like 90s Batman and the No Man's Land era, which has inspired a lot of more recent Batman stuff. And I love the Arkham games, and it just looks like what modern Batman has been for at least a couple of decades. And the mainstream, especially if they've not played video games, has not experienced that. And it looks like what Gotham should have been.
Yeah. Well, I was watching an interview with, who's the guy who played Gordon on Gotham? The actor who played Gordon, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was talking about how...
in Gotham?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now either.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. Either way, I thought it was interesting. He was talking about how, like, I guess you can just make a Gotham show because they're going to be making the Gotham PD show that takes place in the universe of the Batman.
Yeah, and he talked about that, and I really appreciated the getting confirmation of what that show is now. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
He
did talk about
no,
that.
You're fine. Yeah, that's near that's the like that Gotham PD show is going to take place year 1 in Gotham and focus on the corruption and all that jazz. But that actor Ben, thank you, Ben McKenzie. He was saying, I guess you could just right after you already had a Gotham Police Department show, just make another one. He seemed kind of a little hurt by it. Yeah, it was Rosenbaum's podcast. Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum. I've been listening to a lot of Inside You with Michael Rosenbaum. He has a good podcast. He had Kevin Conroy on recently. And it's
good.
Amazing.
I'll have to listen to that. Yeah, he had James Marsters on, and I keep meaning to listen to that. But
that one is also really good.
I got roped into Mark Altman's Treksperts podcast, and that's all I've been listening to for the last 2 weeks. And so I have
other Treksperts. Oh my god.
Well, I stole that name from him, and now I'll never use it again because now he's using it again. I didn't.
Oh no.
So Mark Altman and Edward Gross wrote a book years ago. That it was called something Treksperts, and it was their reviews of up to that point every Star Trek episode that had been made, and it was something of an obscure book. A lot of people didn't know about it, and I didn't realize that they thought of Treksperts as like an official name. And so when I started a Star Trek show, and you made the logo for it, I used that name, and then he comes back, and now he's got a podcast called The Inglorious Treksperts, and I'm like, oh man, I hope he never finds out I used that. Like.
He didn't.
It's gonna make me look like a jerk.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So like, I mean, I am down for everything with the Batman. It looks great.
Everybody's talking about how great it is that it looks like the Riddler might be kind of the main villain, and if not, obviously he's going to be a bigger part of it than I thought he might be. I mean, we know there's a lot of villains in this, and a lot of the assumption initially was that you had that many villains because it was going to be kind of like a Descent into Hell Arkham Asylum story, and I guess there still could be that aspect to it. I don't know. I can see that being your third act. You know, I can see you going into.
Sure.
But the way he was talking about several of those characters, it seems like a lot of them, it's almost like he's making the anti-Gotham, right? Like Gotham, the TV show, was let's get all the villains into their suits and make them villains before Batman is even Batman. And in this, he's got all these characters that aren't even that aren't even using those names yet. Like he's got the Cobblepot who doesn't like to be called Penguin. He talks about that, and maybe Riddler won't even be called Riddler. I wonder if any of the villains will even have costumes.
Yeah, well, Catwoman. Yeah, well, he was talking about how like in that panel, and we see it in the trailer as well. But he talked about how like at this point Catwoman doesn't even have a suit yet. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of one of those things where it's like Bruce is going to inspire, like Batman is going to inspire these people to, you know, escalation, all that jazz.
Yeah, eventually.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan, for spelling it out.
Yes.
But yeah, just in general, like I feel like by the end of that movie, Catwoman will have a suit. But that's just kind of what I got from it. But yeah, he was talking about like Catwoman doesn't have a suit, and Riddler is in very early stages, Penguin's in very early stages. What do you think about? And a lot of people have been talking about this, but I don't think it's him. Everybody thinks that Penguin's in the trailer, and that kind of chubbier guy with the scar on his face is Colin Farrell with makeup. It does not look like Colin Farrell to me, and I've watched that trailer many a time, and I keep looking at it. His eyes are too far apart. Colin Farrell's eyes are a little bit closer together, and I'm usually pretty good at calling out people in makeup, but everybody seems to think that's him.
I haven't done my research to see all the actors that I'm not already familiar with. I thought maybe that guy was supposed to be Falcone, but I don't know.
No, John Turturro is
what
Falcone.
That guy looks like right away. So yeah, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Everybody's saying it's him, but.
Oh,
I was also wrong about Joe Morton in Justice League. So I don't know.
Well, he's disappearing if that's him. Maybe they CG'd his eyes to be farther apart, Dan.
Maybe.
Some people are not real impressed with the costume. I think it's going to win everybody over. I
think it looks great.
Knowing that it's supposed to be more or less like a proto-suit, well, I say proto-suit. I mean, I guess it's possible that this Batman continues to use that same suit throughout, or something like it, through his whole career. But given that it's year 2 and that it's you know, Reeves talks about it like it's kind of thrown together, and like it's more about functionality than aesthetic.
It's iterative. Yeah.
Yeah, and he keeps talking about how this is a Batman that is constantly evolving. You know, as a visual storyteller, he's going to put that on screen, right?
Sure.
I think it's a proto-suit. I think you're going to see something a lot sleeker in future installments.
Sure.
in another movie. And given that they're immediately doing a tie-in TV show, they're confident. I mean, they're ultra confident. And I think Matt Reeves might be hoping that this is his John Wick. I think he's hoping to make 5 of these.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, like, looking at it, I mean, he said this is 25% of what they filmed, and it's like, if this is 2% of 25%,
Lord, I didn't hear that.
Like,
wow.
Yeah, they've only filmed 25% of the movie. If this is 2% of 25% of what they filmed already, I am so excited for what they have left.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna be incredible.
Well, I mean, it's astonishing when you consider the fact that we haven't had this, this aesthetic on screen before. I'm just so used to this being Batman. This is just Batman to me. I'm like, yay, they're finally making Batman. And like, I love Nolan. It's not like I haven't felt, but I've had to be won over on other people's interpretations, and I'm sure that this will, in his way, be Matt Reeves' interpretation of Batman, but it doesn't feel like an interpretation. It just feels like Batman to me. And so I'm really excited about that. And obviously, they're taking some really interesting liberties in doing some of their own things, like having the bat symbol that is made out of the gun. Like, we've never had that before. And some people don't immediately like that. I also think that's likely to win everybody over by the end.
I love that.
We'll see. But I've talking to some folks in the Discord the other day. Somebody said, I don't see how this movie could possibly be bad. That's the place I'm at right now. I will be really surprised if somehow this movie ends up, not making any sense, or is too sappy, or has a hard time juggling its characters. I mean, I guess it's possible it could be a thing that is just too ambitious and tries too much at once, and you wished it was a miniseries instead of a movie. I guess that's possible. But beyond that, I'm gonna be really surprised if it isn't great, because it looks just wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, I'm always kind of a wait and see kind of person, but I think this is like the most excited I could be for pretty much anything right now. Hey, Warner Brothers, thank you for the 99 cents. Save it for the Snyder Cut.
Eric.
I'm sorry, that's HBO Max. Never mind. Warner Brothers, give us what you want.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Eric says that he thinks that this car might supplant the '89 Batmobile for him as his favorite car. I like it a lot. I don't think it's gonna do that, but I love that it's like that shot where they show it and there's a light in the engine, but the headlights aren't on yet. It looks like a beast. Like, it looks like a creature. I love it. I love how that car looks. Well, that's a great point. That it looks like a creature.
Yeah, it looks scary. It's intimidating. Like, that's an actually intimidating car coming at you. Like, it doesn't look like this fantastical, like, Tim Burton kind of car. It just looks like a heavily modified muscle car that just looks. I love that it has its own moment in the trailer. Like, it has that.
You know what else? Well, because they know everybody cares about that. They know that the Batmobile is a big thing. That I think the Batmobile is 25% of what sells Batman. At least. I mean, I really do. If not 50 sometimes. That
the suit and Batman voice. What do you think about the Batman voice?
Well, that was the next thing I was going to mention is they are coming right out the gate and going, everybody don't worry. We know, we figured out the Batman voice. We know what to do with that. It sounds good. And I don't guess we hear him as Bruce Wayne much, so you don't really get much of a sense of the difference between them. But when he is not out in public and just talking to Alfred, I get the sense that he could be using that voice out of costume, and it may not seem all that silly. It seems like it's just a guy having a bad day, man. He's just really broody. But no, I like it. And I also like that they're not afraid of, like, I don't think that movie's liable to be sappy. And like you said, you have to wait and see. You never completely know what you're getting yourself into. But the point is first impressions, and this is the first impression I'm getting. I like that they're not afraid of lines like "I am vengeance." It's grounded, but it's gonna be comic booky in the ways that it needs to be, if that makes any sense. And also, that's their "I'm Batman." They're like, we're not gonna go to "I'm Batman," but he will say "I'm vengeance." Sure.
I liked it because it works in that moment. I was kind of expecting "I'm Batman." So the fact that he said "I'm vengeance" that was a fun little twist on that.
Guys, we all know that guy's not actually Warner Brothers. Solar Dragon wants to know what we thought of the song choice. Put me in just the right mood.
Nirvana.
Yeah, I dug it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, no, it was so you get that kind of mumble rock or mumble alternative rock from
they invented mumble
Chris
rock.
Cobain.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, absolutely. So you get that like kind of, I don't know, it plays in so well because it starts off with the duct tape and that weird like breathing and like the guy his face being taped up. Like it instantly sets that mood.
Gregory Davis said, I didn't know that. He said there was a Batman Begins trailer that used Nirvana. And he says, that's really funny. I didn't know that.
Well, wasn't the big thing Nolan wanted to use Paint It Black, or maybe Jonathan Nolan wanted to use Paint It Black, but Nolan was like, no, let's not use any like music like that. I'd never seen that.
Yeah, I didn't think they used any incidental music like that.
Yeah, that was the big thing because they wanted to use Paint It Black for Batman Begins, but they didn't.
I never heard that.
So I don't know.
I like that they didn't. That's pretty on the nose, man. Can you imagine that? Like, and I want to paint it, and then it cuts. It does that trailer thing where it goes to black, and then it cuts to Batman, and he goes, or to Bruce Wayne. Does it come in black? Like right after he says paint it black, he's like, does it come in black?
Yeah, that'd be real good. That'd be real good. All right, yeah. No,
now Josh Colisano says it was Nickelback, not Nirvana, but I still can't believe that they used a Nickelback song.
Wait, for this one? Is it not?
No, I think he means for the Begins trailer.
Oh, okay. I was about to say Nickelback. Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah. Lewis Cox says it was an international trailer. Well, we need to get off this whole horse here, I think. But yeah. But anyway, what else about that trailer do we need to mention?
There was something I was going to mention.
Yeah, everybody's saying that was definitely Penguin.
Yeah, no, somebody in the chat had said Porn Effects did the prosthetics, and it is Colin Farrell. That is ridiculous. That is insane.
Nuts. Yeah, I can't believe that's Colin Farrell.
That does not look anything like him.
So then you're like,
sound like him.
Did he put on a little bit of weight on purpose, and then they added some stuff to it? Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome.
That's insane.
So here's what I love about that. That might be Matt Reeves going, we don't want to, and it's not like that's a huge actor. I mean, I love Colin Farrell, but I've always thought he deserved an A-list career, and he never quite got there.
He had it, and then there was that golden age, but he did like Alexander and just a series of flops, and that just kind of put him back into character actor status. But
he never got like star vehicle movies, you know what I mean? Like I always thought eventually he'd be that guy.
Well, that's what I mean. Alexander was a major budgeted movie.
Oh, I didn't even know about that. Okay.
Yeah, Alexander was I can't remember who directed that. Was that Ridley Scott? But yeah, he did Alexander. He had SWAT. He had a bunch of movies way back in the day. And he had a bit of a reputation, for being a bit of a boozer and doing whatever he was. I think he settled down.
Yeah.
But that kind of put him in a bad lane.
Okay, well, that's unfortunate. But anyway, I was just going to say, still, people know who that is. He's recognizable. You've got Pattinson, who obviously some people know who he is, but he's a chameleon. He tends to, and Matt Reeves said that, he tends to blend in and completely disappear in a role, sort of like Joaquin Phoenix does. So even when he's hiring people he's trying to make the whole movie look like, it seems to me, before we've seen everybody, I bet he's trying to make the whole movie look like he cast no names. It's like, well, let's make Colin Farrell completely unrecognizable, and then you're already in pretty good shape with your Alfred, because that guy's usually in CG anyways. I mean, we've seen him a couple times in things, but
I'm very curious because you hear Andy Serkis as Alfred in the trailer, but you don't see him, and I'm so curious to see what he looks like, because Matt Reeves was teasing like you've never seen Alfred like this in any of the movies before.
This is also a perfect teaser. This is how you make a teaser, right? Because it makes you really, really want more. Like you get just enough to be to be kind of comfortable with where it's maybe going, where you're like, well, they didn't show us nothing. You've had teasers where it's like they're being so careful not to show you anything that you might as well have not seen it, right? Like this gives you just enough where you get a flavor of it maybe, but they could maybe make like 6 more trailers before you even seen what all the characters look like.
Sure.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I remembered what I wanted to say. One of my favorite things, and I've talked about this before, yesterday. But like one of my favorite things about Batman is those moments where he is Bruce Wayne, he's not dressed up as Batman, he's Bruce Wayne, and he has these moments where like in Batman 1989, you have that moment where the Joker kills the guy with the pen. The pen is truly mightier than the sword.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, everybody's shooting, the bad guys are shooting the machine guns, and Bruce gets shot in the shoulder, and he's just completely unfazed by all of this because he sees Jack and he thought he was dead, and he recognizes him, and he just has that moment where he's just like in Batman mode, but he's Bruce Wayne. And they have that in this trailer with the funeral of the guy who was killed in the beginning, when the car comes barreling through and everybody's running and it's chaos, and the guy walks out with the cell phone taped to his hand and the message on his chest that says, to Batman, and Bruce is just standing there like staring while it's like pandemonium behind him. I love that.
Yeah.
I love anytime they do that. It just gives me goosebumps every single time.
Hadn't had that thought. Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, and that's a guy who is, I mean, I don't know what this characterization is going to be like, but Batman has to be so laser focused in order to do what he does. He's so driven, and he's so determined, and he's always focused on one thing. It makes a lot of sense that bullets can fly right past his head and he wouldn't even notice them because his mind is somewhere else. And if he wasn't able to be that singularly focused, he wouldn't begin to be able to do what he's doing.
Sure.
AMC Comics is...
Batman Begin.
Yes, exactly. AMC Comics, the only misgiving I have about this film is that it feels like a universe that's been lived in for a while, and there's a lot that's happened off screen, like Gordon's alliance with Batman. What do you think about that?
Well, we get a very, very brief glimpse of Batman in like an interrogation room surrounded by police and Gordon. Yeah. And Gordon slams him into a wall. So I feel like this is a reluctant thing. I don't feel like they want to like be working with him, and the very first shot, one of the first shots we see is like a first person view of Batman walking behind Gordon onto this crime scene where clearly whoever killed this man is wanting to toy with Batman. So they bring him in for whatever reason. Like it seems like a reluctant thing. Like all these cops are looking at Batman when he's walking in. Like what is this freak show happening right now? And they don't seem very happy. So I feel like it's going to be one of those things where it's like Gordon, for the case, wants to bring him in on this. But I don't think that would have been his first choice otherwise. I don't know. I feel like Batman will earn his trust in this, hopefully. But yeah, I don't know.
And I also just don't think that you always have to start at the beginning. I mean, stories are about breaking a status quo. And if you tell the story properly, if your writing's good, you can give us a sense. You can establish that relationship without us having to actually see it having gotten there.
Yeah. Yeah, and who knows? Yeah, we don't know the context for all this stuff yet.
And I don't want to go as far as to say that like you should never go back to the beginning and do an origin again. I get suspicious of that very often because it's so often used as a crutch. But Begins did a wonderful Batman origin. It would maybe be a mistake to try to pave over Begins, right? Like the whole thing that Reeves, and I realize this is a different continuity, but the whole thing that but one of the big things that Reeves talked about, and by the way, I think that was maybe the best panel. It's not even a panel; it's just an interview. But of Fandome, because it's so substantive and he's actually telling us. And I get you're saying maybe he's giving away too much, but it's nice that I didn't feel like any of that 25 minutes was wasted, I did with some of those other panels.
Back. He didn't really feel like he was holding back.
Snyder's could have been like 5 minutes long, man. Like he kept talking and he wasn't saying anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just could have done without the 20 minutes of the Wonder Woman cast and crew playing whatever trivia game or like party game they were playing. I don't even know what they were doing.
I didn't get that far in the Wonder Woman one because we were talking Batman tonight, so I didn't watch everything of everything else. But
that was actually later. That wasn't even part of the Wonder Woman panel initially because it starts off with that. It was just before I think the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League.
Because I was just watching these in highlight reels.
Yeah.
I saw very little live while it was happening, except for fan art. I saw some of the fan art. I just jumped in for a minute. I was like, oh, they're doing fan art, and then I turned it off.
Did you see the tattoos? I wish I
I didn't.
Pictures of my tattoos.
They had tattoos. Yeah, because you got great tattoos.
The Batman. But
the Batman, Mr. Batman.
The Batman.
But
What next?
anyway, yeah, well, let's go ahead and get back to Super Chats because there's a bazillion of them. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you guys being here. So you want to be an Imagineer, $2 Super Chat. The Batman trailer equals 7 with Riddler as John Doe. I've never seen 7, but that's an interesting comparison.
A lot of people are saying 7. Visually, it does look a lot like 7. Crap, I'm trying to remember the cinematographer's name. The cinematographer for this movie, and I was really excited when he was announced because he's the guy who shot the last few Tarantino movies. He shot Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Hateful Eight and the last few of his movies. And my goodness, I love his visual style. So it's very anamorphic and it's very raw looking. It doesn't look like, super pristine. And I really love that visual style. And it works so well.
Reeves was talking a lot about noirs and neo-noirs, and he was going back to things like Chinatown and stuff like that. But I'm glad
7
that
it's very much that.
Yeah, but I'm glad that he also mentioned, and I mean, like, this is obviously the biggest, or one of the 2 biggest things that that Joker was based on, but he also mentioned Taxi Driver, and I'm seeing that also. So I mean, you can't, and that's why I think that's why a lot of people are saying, well, are we sure that Joker can also be in the same universe? Because stylistically, it feels like they're doing somewhat similar things, but we know that this doesn't take place in that same time period.
Yeah. Well, then I think they definitively. I had seen somewhere yesterday them saying that those were definitively different universes,
and we've known that for a while. But I get why people were going. So I'm not saying people were saying, well, are we sure it's not? It was people saying, well, how come it's not? Like why couldn't we just put them together? And I think it's because it would make your Joker just so much older than Batman. And also because they're similar styles, but they are still maybe different style. I guess we'll see when we see the movie, right? Like, just because your influences both came from some of the same places doesn't mean that you'll get into that and go, well, these belong in the same universe. Like, I bet there's something in this movie that will make us go, well, no. Like, it couldn't have been Joker. This is a totally different thing. I do think that with this whole multiverse thing, they're very likely to do everything they can do to get those 2 things together. Like, when that Joker fights a Batman, I don't know if we'll even see him fight his own Batman. It might just be this one. And that's kind of the, I guess if you're, and I know a lot of people aren't loving this idea, but if you're Warner Brothers right now, you get to have your cake and eat it too. That is the nice thing about finally opening up the multiverse with your Flash movie, is that now we don't have to have those arguments anymore. This Joker is never going to get to fight Batman. Well, we don't even have to give him his own Batman if we don't want to. We could just have him plopped out of his universe and drop him somewhere else. We don't even have to ever go back to his universe if we don't want to. We could just pick him up and throw him in somebody else's.
That's true. I want a universe with 10 Jared Leto Jokers, and that's the movie. That's the movie.
They all say different things on their foreheads, and if you stack them all together, it makes a sentence.
It's 7 of them then, not 10. So 7, it's like the 7 dwarves. It's damaged, grumpy, sleepy. Yeah.
That's what that is. Logan Dodd, 499 Super Chat. Is the Suicide Squad distinguishing itself enough from the previous movie, and does Cheetah look too much like the Cats film? So we'll answer those separately. So yeah, let's jump over to the Suicide Squad for a minute. So far, with the footage they showed and with the discussion in that panel, it looks like a consummate James Gunn movie, which could be great for it for me, or could be terrible for it for me. It's just gonna depend on what it delivers, because I don't have some of the same sensibilities that James Gunn does, but when he's reeled in, I like him at least with Guardians. But this looks more like an early James Gunn movie to me.
I was about to say, it looks like Guardians meets Super as far as like aesthetic and sense of humor or whatever is going. Like,
my prediction is it's going to be a lot more coherent and a lot more, fun and not down to earth, but you know what I mean? Like, I'll be able to follow what's going on, and the characters will probably have, some nice dynamics and things, but all versus that first movie, which was just a baffling mess. But I don't think it's going to be for me ultimately. Like at the end of the day, I think I'm probably going to walk out and go, that was good. It's not for me, and so we'll just have to see.
Yeah. Well, I know it's already for me, so I like weird. You know me. I like weird stuff, and yeah, I'm not exactly with the curve for everybody. But yeah, I mean, setting wise, it looks quite different, just because. I mean, you go from the whatever that mess of a city. It was like 2 hours of just brown looking city shots. Like it just all looked mucky and like that. And this looks like pretty vibrant. Like they put Rick Flag in this bright red shirt with red suspenders or whatever he's wearing, and like they're wearing like comic book looking outfits, and they're completely unabashed about it. Like
in certain ways, it looks like what Birds of Prey, what the Harley Quinn movie was advertising itself as.
Yeah, visually, for sure.
So if you thought that looked like a lot of fun, this is more likely to actually be that. I mean, I know some people enjoyed that. I didn't like it, but I think this is probably going to be like that, but a lot better. And that movie is probably not for me, is what I'm saying. But I'll tell you what I really like about it. So anyway, when you say is it distinguishing itself enough from that movie? Well, first of all, it's only bringing back like 4 characters.
Yeah, something like
that. From that first movie, it's not the same lineup. It's a whole lot more characters. My favorite thing so far, first of all, I love that they went ahead and ran down the list and told you all the characters to kind of prime you for this, because that would be really overwhelming on a first trailer. Where it's like, we have, because did you count it, Dan? That is a team of 18. They have. Oh,
they're some of them are going to make it 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's what I love about it, is if you're going to do Suicide Squad, you have to like actually deliver on that premise. And that premise is there is a bomb in these people's heads, and if they cross Waller, they're going to die, and not everybody's going to make it out. And they had one token one in that first movie, and
then did Slipknot,
and then they had a MacGuffin in that phone that would kill all the members of the Suicide Squad, that Joker should have gotten his hands on, so that he was involved in that movie, but they didn't do that. And and in this, very very clearly, Waller is actually in control, and they're gonna get rid of a bunch of people. So I just love, like, it's 18 characters. I recognized in total maybe 6 or 7 of them. And this is after years and years now of obscure second, third, fourth string superheroes and villains showing up in a lot of DC stuff outside of comics. Sure. Like these days in extra media, you get these characters like a lot, and there have been some, fun ultra super deep pulls in the Harley Quinn show recently, and obviously in having to make, a total of 514 seasons, the CW shows have gone to so many random where they just open a comic and go, we haven't done this guy yet, and so like everybody showed up somewhere at this point. And a bunch of characters that I've never heard of. The Polka Dot Man looks hilarious. I predict that will be my favorite thing in that movie.
Yeah. Well, Jim Lee was talking about that. He was like,
yeah, I missed the Jim Lee
James Gunn. He was talking about, like, he's not even going to tertiary characters. He's like, what's below tertiary? Like, just like these kind of like Ratcatcher 2. Like me looking at that, I'm like, what is that? Who is that? I don't know. Ratcatcher 2. I like Weasel. I like the design for Weasel. Well, it looks like a puppet too. I don't know if it's all CGI or not, but it looks like a puppet in the shot they had. Do
you think that they're gonna have any discussion at all about how much of how connected this is supposed to be to that previous movie, or is it gonna sort of soft reboot and just hope you're not thinking too much about that? Because obviously, in using any of those same actors at all, they know that folks have got to be thinking about that, especially because here's what's so awkward about this. It's a sequel to a movie that performed, that felt like it needed to go its own way because it didn't perform as well critically. And because the whole Joker thing didn't work. Like, even if your movie makes $1 billion, if people don't like your Joker, you got to rethink some things, because that character was so popular. And so they went, okay, what is the one thing from that movie that if nothing else was the thing that got it over 900 million or $1 billion?
Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn. So of course she's in there, and Harley Quinn's not even traditionally a Suicide Squad character, but she's now very associated with that property, so we're gonna keep her in. And again, this is just me. I didn't like that Harley Quinn movie, so I'm hoping they redeem her a little bit because I liked her in Suicide Squad. She was one of the only things I did like about that movie. And then it's like, are we going to even talk about Deadshot? Because he's, you know, usually the leader of that team, and now he's gone.
Well, initially they were going to recast Idris Elba as Deadshot. That was the rumor, and then apparently, like, there was a little bit of brouhaha about that, and they were like, well, let's just make it a different character. And so they made him Bloodsport now, or whatever his name is. Isn't that a movie? That's a movie series, Bloodsport. So they made him
that a lot with characters in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised there's not a villain called Under Siege.
Oh man, Steven Seagal. I haven't thought about him in a little bit.
Austin, hi Austin, Day Ghost. Austin says it wasn't a rumor. He says it was indeed Deadshot. Initially.
Okay, yeah. So like, and they kind of re-corrected and just rewrote the character as somebody else, which I'm glad, because I would like to see Will Smith come back as Deadshot. And it does seem weird that he wouldn't be in this, but I mean, maybe there'll be a throwaway line about it or something.
Gregory, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're right. To make a great deep pull TMNT reference, Harley is the skipping stone of this.
Oh my God! I can't believe you went to that
franchise. You know,
from the Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells tour.
But I mean, she's literally going from movie to movie. She's kind of the same character. Skipping stones. I only know that song because of your rewind that you did on that.
Skipping stones.
So yeah. Anyway, I just want to make that reference.
That Splinter thought he was Tom Petty for 3 minutes.
Oh man, I wish he would have had an entire solo career. That would have been amazing.
So Blue Dragon 5 says, I love how Gunn sold Bloodsport, the man who shot Superman. This is another case where I was surprised by some of the revelations of things that actually happen in that movie. I'm surprised we know that already. Now that may be like a main comic book thing that I'm not familiar with because I've never read the Ostrander stuff. And I like how he discussed that. Gunn said that it was supposed that he didn't think of this as an adaptation of Ostrander's Suicide Squad, but almost more of like a sequel to it. So it's like he's taking a lot of the stuff that he did there and he's just running with it and doing new things, which is cool. But he's gonna have to introduce all these characters. So if most of them don't know each other already, then I'm gonna cry foul on calling it a sequel to Ostrander's stuff.
Yeah.
Now that's an odd thing to say if that's the case.
Yeah. I don't know.
But anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. Like, okay, so I'm of two minds about it. Like, on the one hand, like, I get when you say, like, why are you telling us so much? And then on the other hand, I'm like, well, I mean, I took the time to come and watch this. Like, I guess I'm glad I came away knowing some things. So I don't know.
Sure, yeah, no, they actually gave out. Well, some of them gave out really like good information. I don't appreciate it when they spend 15 minutes. Like for the Shazam one, which was fun because they had Sinbad, which is cool.
I heard that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, for the Shazam panel, they spent the first 10 minutes going, well, we can't say anything about the movie. We can't say anything. Like, that was the joke, and they kept kind of, breezing along for a good 10 minutes, not saying anything. And then ultimately they just revealed the title of the movie, and then that was it. It's like Shazam Fury of the Gods or something like that.
Yeah, and then I saw the 3 pieces of concept art they had with him just talking over them with dialogue they pretty clearly wrote for this thing, where it's I don't know if you saw that, but it's like Black Adam going it's just The Rock going, I'm gonna be in a movie.
Oh yeah.
And I'm gonna be
I watched that.
They needed a superhero, or they needed a hero, but instead they got me, and I'm gonna teach the Justice Society how to stop being heroes and how to do the stuff that I want them to do. Yeah, they had that whole thing. It's clear they did. I mean, they didn't have anything to show, so The Rock put something together with Boss Logic. Boss Logic and Jim Lee did the art for that. So, and they just made that little cinematic thing. But I thought it was all right. The revelation that it's Black Adam versus the Justice Society is news enough to come out and talk about it. I mean, they didn't have enough material to do a whole panel, clearly, and they knew that. So I mean, it's fun that they joked about that, because they were basically going, well, we think we have enough to say something, and they do. Saying it's going to be, we didn't know that. So, I mean, that's cool. Real quick, Gregory Davison, wait, Cap, what did you like about Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad? In my opinion, she was only used for cheap sex appeal. She was barely a character. I felt like she was one of the only characters that had a little bit of pathos in that. There were a couple of really nice moments where she stops for a minute and gets kind of lucid, and you can see something going on behind her eyes, and you're like, okay, there's more to this character, but she's putting up a wall. I mean, that's kind of traditional Harley Quinn, really. Some of the only traditional Harley Quinn we had with her, where she's hiding behind the makeup and she's hiding behind her crazy. And this is a thinking, feeling, tragic character. And there's not enough of that, certainly. But when I say that she's one of the things I liked about that movie, I mostly mean the performance. You got the sense that Margot Robbie's got range in the couple of scenes where we have that, and her dynamic with Deadshot, I think, is one of the better things in that movie.
Yeah,
where
I was going to say,
kind of
Deadshot,
they sold me on the co-leading thing with them, which shouldn't have worked, and did okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, most of that, plotting-wise, it's a train wreck. There's some performance stuff in that where you can see the seeds of what it should have been.
Yeah. And they had shot some, like, I don't know, like, sex scene, but they had the Harley and Deadshot were going to sleep together in that, a lot like the Assault on Arkham movie, the cartoon, which I don't know what that would have added, really. David Ayer was talking about that on Twitter recently, and, like, he was like, why would people, because he had said something about, like, yes, initially they did, have sex together in the movie, and then it was deleted. And then he was talking about it on Twitter, and people were getting upset at him. And he was like, "Why are people getting upset? This is like something that's happened before." And and then I linked him. Or I replied with the Assault on Arkham thing, and he quote retweeted me, and he was like, "See."
Oh,
so
wow.
That's it. The end.
Oh, did nobody get upset with you because you were going to bat for Ayer?
Oh no, nobody gave a shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Swear. I've been trying so hard not to swear today. I don't know why.
It's just the longer you're here, the harder it gets.
I don't know if I've ever sworn in one of your videos.
I don't think so. No.
Anyway,
but everybody ends up flubbing up at least once, including me. I mean, we've all done it. Okay, so I mean, you've probably completely demonetized the video now, and so thanks for that. But no, it happens. I'm completely joking. I didn't do it tonight, but I constantly accidentally demonetize my own live streams by playing whatever music I feel like playing, Dan.
That is true. That is
true. So Logan Dodd also asked if Cheetah looks too much like the Cats film. Now, I didn't pause things. I didn't stare at her face. What little we got to see with her in movement, I thought looked fantastic. She looks like Cheetah, and that excited me. I'm wondering if Dan is going to find some Cheetah.
Am I hearing somebody disparaging my favorite movie, Cats?
Why did you buy that?
Because I'm obsessed with it.
Are you really?
I'm obsessed with it.
I still haven't seen it. So I almost went to the theater and reviewed it when Connor Nielsen was here. He and I almost went and saw it, and then we got busy and didn't do it. But yeah, I was gonna.
She looks worse than Cats, honestly. She doesn't look anything like Kristen Wiig when she's in that Cats mode.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, like, from what we saw, it's so quick and it's so fast and blurry, and it's at night, but it didn't even look like her. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. She seemed full CGI.
Well, we'll see what it looks like when she's actually, stopping and talking. I love that line in one room. It's just like, what did you do? It's like, you're a cat person now. What happened? It looks great. It still looks great.
My fiance's in the chat and says that she hates that I own this.
Is she in the other room? Is she gonna come in and break it over her knee, like off camera?
No. Oh, please don't. No. I just love the stage show, and I got this because it has special features, and I was so morbidly curious about what it looked like before they did the effects. And it was as glorious as I thought it would be. I actually watched this recently with my little sister. She came over and we were watching that. Anyway.
Well, I'm gonna someday I'll watch that. I'm gonna have a hard time prioritizing that to review, but if anybody wants to request that on Patreon, I mean, I'll do it. Certainly,
somebody request that he does the stage play and then the movie.
If somebody
do both, you have to watch both.
Oh, I do. Oh, okay. But if somebody really wants me to review that, I mean, I'll do it anyway. Okay, so. Shameless Patreon plug. Logan Dodd, another $5 super chat. Could the DC film universe be on its way to surpassing the MCU quality and popularity? Interesting. I think all things are possible. I think that is going to completely depend on how the next phase of Marvel goes. There's been a whole lot more than this, right? Because that Batman movie is going to make $6 bazillion. It's gonna do really well. And especially if it's great. And I mean, just the buzz was already there, and now it's just the buzz is insane, and it's going to be Dark Knight all over again. Is my prediction. And even if, and maybe especially if it's rated R, it's going to be like Logan times 3. I think is what will happen with that, and that by itself is could be enough to put it over the top. I mean, Wonder Woman 84, I'm sure will do really well. Again, especially if it's good. And like Joker performed really well, so it's like even if Warner's has some more duds, they're in a pretty good place at the moment as far as how much money their movies are making and the popularity of them. So the ball goes back to Marvel's court at that point, because there's been a lot of talk lately that they might have shot themselves in the foot a little bit, and this was the big thing I suggested after Endgame. I'm not trying to say I told you so or toot my own horn, but I was wondering about this, and I had a lot of pushback in comments when I said this, where I was like, I don't know if it maybe wasn't a mistake to put out Endgame, have a big, what feels like, a universe closer, even though we know there's more to come. It's just here's a big, great finale, and then immediately, here's more movies, and like, how interested are people going to be in those? And I said they should have waited before they started putting stuff out. Well, COVID made that choice for them.
Yeah, they're being forced to, yeah.
Yeah, and so they put out Spider-Man, which made sense to them because it watches like an epilogue, Far From Home. Yeah. And then now it's a few months, and then the question is, when we finally see Black Widow and the other movies start to come out, does that big gap in time help them, like I suggested it might, or does it further cement people have kind of lost interest in Marvel and forgotten about Marvel? And I'm not saying that they have entirely, or even at all. I'm just suggesting that if DC had a really big movie right now, like at this very moment, and then Marvel's next movie is not really liked, you've really got a war there at that point. And obviously that's not happening. But I'm curious to see. I think the ball is in Marvel's court. I think what you're suggesting is plausible. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying that it could.
Yeah.
I also think that they both could just be on the same high at the same time. We could suddenly see a superhero renaissance in a way, which is weird to say because we've been saying for a lot of years that we've been sort of in that, at least with movies,
sure,
at least on the Marvel side. But you could have a lot of people suddenly start to say that, where it's like, well, we thought we were going to see superhero fatigue, but now we have 6 great movies every year.
Sure. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Dan Torrey. I think that's Dan Torrey, right? Torrey?
Oh, hello, Dan Torrey. Yes.
Hello, everybody.
How's it going, man? Yeah, Dan and I were chatting earlier about the Batman. He's excited about that.
Yeah, buddy.
Dan is not a big Batman fan, but he loves the Riddler. And he and I are always talking about the Riddler. Oh, yeah. And so we were both very excited to see. And also real riddles. And that's always exciting.
Yeah. Well, I saw somebody on Twitter solve that one. The main one. Because it's like, what does a liar do when they're dead? And the answer to the riddle was he lies still.
Oh, that's pretty good. see, it's what Gotham should have been, because that sounds like a riddle that would have been in Gotham.
Yeah, well, there was a code on the, like a little cryptic code thing, and somebody decoded it. Oh. And I was like, what the? That is insane.
That's pretty cool. And they did that. I'm sure they put that in that trailer knowing that people would decode it.
Oh, yeah. Somebody was like, and then everybody was asking, like, how'd you decode it? And they were, like, explaining, like, oh, you swap out these things. And I'm like, I don't know.
That's awesome. You know what that is? That is viral marketing inside normal mainstream marketing.
Yeah, that's kind of Nolan-y. Nolan did. Well, he did more of those augmented reality things, which were always really cool. But Two Dans, one Cap.
Somebody.
Oh my god.
Somebody said that this movie is Professor Zoom. Cap, it's going to be PG-13, and you're gonna like it.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. So Matt Reeves, the last couple movies he did was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And War for the Planet of the Apes is a dark movie. That movie is dark.
It is.
And violent, and
the one before it is better, but I still like them both.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Oh, but that's a good point you're making. That looks like a rated R movie, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So he pushes it right to the edge, right? He goes, I know
think
exactly
he's gonna
what
keep it PG-13.
things to leave out to make sure it doesn't get an R rate. Man, if it does, I don't want to see storybooks or coloring books. Dang it. Quit it. Quit doing that. We've been threatening to read the storybook from Dark Knight Rises on this show for the longest time. I'm going to finally do it. I'm going to pull that out. Oh, no, I've told you about it. It's the one where it leaves out the entire plot of the movie because it's too dark to give to kids, and then it just goes, Batman goes into the sewer to find Bane. He fights Bane. The end. And, we're reading that one of these days. I'm going to put it on the screen.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something I'm not as looking forward to. Hot Flame, $4.99 Super Chat. Do you think the Suicide Squad game, being in the Arkham universe, will tie in with the Assault on Arkham animated movie? I doubt that very seriously. Or maybe there could be like a couple references, but it won't really matter. We're not going to make a game where it matters.
That wasn't in continuity with the Arkham games, Assault on Arkham. It was just Kevin Conroy.
No, it is. It's Arkhamverse. I don't think it's technically canon, but it is Arkham. It is Arkhamverse, though.
Is it?
Yes.
Why am I crazy about that?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's how they sold it. It's those aesthetics. They use there's some references to things here and there that make it clear that's what it's supposed to be. But it watched more like a comic tie-in, where it's like it's set in the same universe, but it's maybe not canon. You know what I mean? So I don't know if any fans actually count that as being part of Arkhamverse. I don't know that it matters. I'm just saying, to answer the question, I'm just saying. Yeah. I doubt it very seriously. I also, so far, don't really know why it's going to matter that that's Arkhamverse, but it's very likely that will become clear as we're looking at it.
Sefton had said, like, there were some storyline ties or something like that. There would be references or something like that. Well, I mean, like the Arkhamverse, and we've talked about this before, isn't the most consistent in the first place. Like they are not afraid to reinvent something for the story that they're telling for this thing.
Yeah,
Gordon is one of the most inconsistent characters in that entire series.
And their prequel has the prequelitis you expected it to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we'll see how it connects up. I don't know.
So, here's what's weird about it to me. First of all, nothing about that so far is appealing to me. But I guess we'll see what the gameplay looks like and stuff. Because the nice thing about video games, and I say this all the time, and I'm sure everybody's tired of me saying it, if it's a story-based video game, it's about two things. It's about telling a story, and it's about playing a game. And if one of those if the gameplay is good, but the story is bad, you can still have a fun time. If and it's weird, it's kind of opposite, right, from movies and action, right? Like, if you have a movie with really good action, but a really bad story, it's hard for me to get invested and enjoy it. But if I'm the one playing it, the story can absolutely suck, but if the action's good, then I can have a good time. Yeah. The opposite is not true with a video game. And in that way, the gameplay is more important. I'm not saying that overall it necessarily is, but in that way it is, right? Where if it's broken, but the story's great, I still don't care. I had to play through all the things I couldn't play, right? That was really sucky. So, So, like, I can't get excited about that. I think it's weird that they're using the movie cast. It already feels insanely outdated to me. But if you're gonna... And I don't mean the voices, I just mean those characters. Like, it's movie Suicide Squad. Why are we doing that? That's really... Or at least, I think maybe Croc wasn't there, but I mean, they were all movie Suicide Squad characters. Like, I don't know why we're doing that. And I'm tired of that Harley Quinn look, and I'm already stuck with that in the movies, so why do I have to keep looking at it in video games? But... if the gameplay's fun, then it might be worth checking out. I always wanted to see the Arkhamverse expand into other things, so I don't mind that it's Arkhamverse. And the fact that it is makes the fact that Gotham Knights isn't weird.
Yeah, it's real strange because aesthetically, Gotham Knights looked like it was the Arkham sequel, and even down to like spoilers for Arkham Knight for anybody who has not played it. That game ends with, Bruce destroying the Batcave, destroying Wayne Manor, and pretty much going incognito.
Yeah, so it feels like a follow-up in that way, and I get that it can't possibly be because you're not going to play as Red Hood in that universe. Like, he's the bad guy.
You do play as Red Hood in Arkham Knight, in the DLC.
But not as a good guy.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, really?
You're going down, hunting down the Black Mask, yeah.
Oh. I didn't know that.
But you're more like anti-hero good guy. You're killing people, and
does it make sense? But does it make sense for him to be part of the Bat family after everything he did in Arkham Knight, is what I'm saying? Would he work with those guys? Would they work with him? After he was Arkham Knight?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he is established in that universe as going off and doing his own thing. I don't see him playing. I mean, I could see them teaming up at some point. It depends on the impetus and all that jazz.
No, sure, yeah. But I didn't know about that DLC, so you've got a different perspective than me. I'm still looking at him squarely as the bad guy of that game, and I have a hard time.
I can't stand that DLC in Arkham Knight.
Was it bad?
It's one way too short, and Black Mask just gets so shafted. You kill him as Red Hood, and he just dies, and that's it. I'm like, they did nothing with Black Mask in this universe, and I got so upset.
Well, Dragon 5 say they redeemed him at the end of Night. I know they say, it's been a while since I played that. I know they kind of did, but still, with everything he did, I just have a really hard time seeing him as fighting with those other three. But then again,
he's still using the guns in the game. He's still shooting people.
Yeah,
and
but in the comics, whenever they work with Red Hood, it's not like he's not still shooting people. I mean, like it's always kind of dicey, where it's like, well, we don't really approve of your methods, Red Hood, but you're real good at things, so I guess we'll work with you. So yeah, I know what some folks are probably going to say after I threw that at it, where I'm like, it just looks like it ought to be part of Arkham. It's like, well, we haven't seen the story yet, and they've been, Rocksteady's been saying that there's going to be a lot of things about that game that don't match up, and it wouldn't make sense to be in the same universe. The problem for me is, and let me just say that there's like 8 minutes of game footage, and it looks really, really pretty. I mean, it just looks spectacular. I'm very, very excited about it. And I don't mind an Elseworlds thing, of course. It's just, everything about it, it smells like Arkham, it tastes like Arkham, it's Arkham, like, just in the gameplay. And so as I'm playing, it's a story-driven thing that is also about gameplay. Ergo, it's going to feel very strange as I'm playing it to have to keep reminding myself that I'm not in that same world. And that's what's weird about it. It's more about the gameplay to me than anything. The pacing of it, everything. I mean, like, obviously it's that same engine. And then just everything about it looks and feels and smells and tastes like Arkham.
Yeah, even Freeze looks like Freeze from the Arkham games.
Yeah.
He sounds different, but I actually kind of didn't appreciate, I don't know, the gameplay for Gotham Knights looked, I mean, it looked fun enough, but the boss battle where it's just like they just toss a health bar on Freeze and you have to just beat him up. I don't know, it seems like a step backwards when you have like that.
Not to me.
Well, it just reminds me, like, it makes me think of Arkham City and like that great fight you have with him, where you have to like actually think and on your feet and like, how do I beat this guy?
So here's the problem. The problem is that I'm not a modern gamer, and I don't like boss battles. And when I see a health bar on a boss, I go, awesome. Because I can get through it very quickly and get to the stuff I care about. That boss battle with Freeze took me 45 minutes, and I got so sick of playing it. And it's really good if you know what you're doing. But this game might be more for somebody like me who doesn't know what I'm doing, and I would love that because I suck at stuff. So I'm in the minority, and my opinion doesn't count on this. I completely I completely get what you're saying, but I could not care less about boss battles. And when I see that, and I know I can beat him in 6 minutes, and then I can move on with my life, that's very exciting to me. But boy, you can't say anything about those graphics. It just looks beautiful.
Yeah. And that's an earlier build of the game too, so it's like it's gonna look even better by the end of it.
Yeah.
Where do you fall on? So they were saying that from what I gathered, a 2-player co-op on Gotham Knights and 4-player co-op for Suicide Squad Kills the Justice
Oh, I
League.
hadn't heard that. Interesting.
Yeah, Rocksteady was saying it's 4-player co-op, but it still can be played single player.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I'm really curious to see how it works and if it's not too buggy out the gate, because we've never tried it. I don't know if Avengers is supposed to be co-op. If it is, they're getting ahead of this.
Yeah, I don't think that is co-op. I'm pretty sure that's a single-player game, but I probably could play.
Well, it's
not.
Well, no, because you can play it online with other people. It must be co-op.
Oh, can you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the beta's been out, and so there's a few viewers, a few folks in the Discord that have been trying to get me to play it with them, and I just haven't had time. But they're trying to get me online to play with them. I don't know what that gameplay looks like, but it must be co-op. Now that I'm saying, I'm like, oh wait a minute, sorry, I just remembered. Oh yeah, it's online, and people are trying to get me to play with them. So it must be. So
yeah, it is.
So the nice thing is there will be a precedent set that they'll be able to look at as they're finishing it. You know what I mean? Like, they'll be able to look at that and be like, okay, here are the things that didn't work with that, and because the gameplay can't be that different from Arkham, I wouldn't think for another superhero action game. But I haven't played that beta yet, so I don't know anything about what that looks like. So besides the really early footage. But anyway,
I've seen footage. Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm just wondering how far the co-op goes, right? Like, can you go into separate buildings and do separate things at the same time? Like, can you do a side mission while somebody else is in the middle? I would assume not. I would assume that a cutscene would interrupt everybody. So, like, how does that even work? Is there one person that's, like, controlling the main action, and then once you get into gameplay, then another person is just dropped in? Like, I just wonder how that would work.
Yeah, in the gameplay trailer they showed, Batgirl is on the Bat Cycle or whatever, and it pops up in the top right, like, Robin has joined the game. Like, the character comes in, so I don't know how it's going to be like.
Dago says Avengers basically plays like Ultimate Alliance and Lego merged together. This won't be like that. Just looking at that gameplay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the Lego Batman, you're sharing the same screen, right? Like, you can't move beyond.
It becomes split screen. After the first 5 or 6 games,
it's been a while.
They changed it with Indiana Jones, I think.
Was it?
I forget, but like 5 or 6 games in, they do a so if you're close to each other, it's one screen, and then as you walk apart, it turns into a split screen. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yep. I played the Hobbit one. I think that was one of the last ones I played.
But yeah, this shows a split screen in a couple places where it drops somebody in, but I was a little bit lost as to what exactly was happening.
I think they were just showing for the viewer of, like, these two are playing at the same time. Like, this is what they're both doing.
You think that's what that? Okay, all right.
I don't think the player would see that way. I don't know, though.
Okay, so we need to blow through some of these faster because we're 15 minutes away from 2 hours, and there are so many super chats that I imagine a lot of people that have left them have probably already left the stream. So let's
left themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't even get up to the older ones on my chat anymore.
Yeah, luckily I've got them on a different page here, so on the dashboard. Yes. So anyway, I feel bad that we've been taking so long to get through these super chats, and that is my dashboard confessional. Okay, Jay Forever King, $5 super chat. Never once during fandom did they ever show footage from Nolan's Batman, and that's a good point. There's a lot of there's a place where they do this kind of trailer thing where they show a bunch of footage from different things, giving you a sense of here's all the potential stuff that they could use. If they wanted to cross over into different things. Keanu Reeves' Constantine was in that footage, and obviously this doesn't mean that they necessarily will go to all of these different things. What it does mean, in my mind, is that they are coming, and I don't mean to read too far into stuff, but why else would you put this in there? They're coming right out and making a big deal out of, yes, this is indeed the same multiverse that we established in the CW superhero shows. Because they showed us the scene that they did in Crisis that had both Flashes. And I'm glad to have that confirmed. That's ultimately a good thing. I don't like Crisis, I don't like what they've been doing with those CW shows, but it is far less confusing if the whole thing is one multiverse. It does mean that we have already had a Crisis, And it also means that we will have 2 flashpoints, which is hilarious. But I digress.
Yeah.
I also think, if I'm not reading too far into it, that it's the reason that the only current major live-action superhero show that also had a panel was Flash. Because they didn't do it with Legends or Supergirl or any of their other shows. As far as I saw, I mean, there was a Flash TV panel.
But it was just Flash TV show. And Titans, they did Titans as well.
Okay, but Titans is HBO Max, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
Yeah, and they also did Harley Quinn. So
yes, they did a thing Harley Quinn Q&A, which was pretty good. I liked the vibe of that one.
I need to go watch that. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
So is it fair? So never once did they use footage from Nolan's Batman. Is it fair to say that those films are off the table for multiverses? I think it's fair to assume that we'll never see Bale come back because he's always been pretty adamant that that's not going to happen. As far as nothing from those popping in, I mean, I wouldn't ever never say never, right? Like,
yeah.
But
I want to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt Batman, please.
I could see them having this kind of, coveted thing where they're like, well, we're afraid to even touch that because the fans will go bananas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like,
you're ruining my Christopher Nolan hood.
Well, and they also, some people don't agree with me when I say this, but it was always pretty clear to me that Nolan was really, at the very least, not sure if he wanted to make Rises, or maybe really didn't want to, and it always seemed like he kind of got roped into that, and it was like, they're not going to keep making these movies without him, or they're going to try really hard to get him to make one before they're forced to make one without him. So and as much as they made a big deal out of trying to put a cap on it and forcing it into a trilogy box, yeah, I don't know if they'll ever go there, but I also could see the right executive pushing the right buttons and making it happen. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Lewis Cox.
Indeedly, dude.
20-pound super chat. Thanks, man. Cap and Dan, how are you guys? Oh, wait, we already did this one. Pardon me. I skipped ahead earlier, apparently.
We're still doing well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know what? We're great. An hour later.
I'm actually worse now that I've been hanging out with this guy over here. Wrong way, that way.
Wow. I was going to say at the beginning of the show, if I had a dime for every time somebody got on with me and said, "Man, I just don't want to do this." It's one of the first things you said. We came in, and you were just like, "I don't want to do this." And I don't think you were talking about this. I think you were talking about something else. But it was hilarious. Anyway,
the truth.
William Purcell. Did we already? Yeah, $5 super chat. Thoughts on Gotham Knights not being part of the Arkhamverse? We've kind of touched on that. It's odd because the setup for the trailer seems to kind of sort of tie into Arkham Knight, like you were suggesting.
Yeah,
it's confusing everybody. And the trailer didn't make it clear enough to people that it wasn't in that universe, and there are things about it where it's hard to imagine that it is, but like you suggested, they've not always been consistent. So a lot of people were making videos and posting online and being like, is it or isn't it? And I even saw people in the chat here before we started recording that were saying they didn't like that it was Arkhamverse and thought that it was Arkhamverse. So I mean, people are still confused about this, and they came out on social media and said for sure on Twitter and stuff, that it. I mean,
they would have to
not Arkhamverse,
just because, like, I mean, Batgirl is fully rehabilitated. Like, I read the bio on her, like, because she was Oracle in this universe, this Gotham Knights universe, whatever they're doing. She was Oracle, and she's rehabilitated and back crime fighting, which I don't know how you do that from being paralyzed, but.
Well, New 52 got away with it. Off screen.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't know.
Gail Simone's first issue. It was a miracle. She's just she's just like repelling around. And this is not Gail Simone's fault, I don't think, because she really didn't want to do it. But that was during that period where they were kind of, making people do stuff they didn't want to at editorial. And Batgirl's like repelling around the city, going. Well, I got my legs fixed. It was a miracle. I don't know how it happened, and it seemed like at some point they would explain it, and I didn't read that whole series, so maybe they did, but just on principle, I wasn't reading that book. And I read like 1 or 2 issues later out of curiosity with some stuff that was happening that were actually really, really good, but I couldn't get behind just saying she was never Oracle. It was supposed to be a full-on reboot in the first place. Anyway, I digress, but it's that whole thing. Okay, so if it's not going to be in the Arkham universe, then why do you even have to do that? Why don't you just say she was never Oracle? Why don't you just do, the Batman Beyond thing? And it's like, and later on, she's still on 2 legs because that never happened. Like,
yeah. I don't know.
I don't
Oh yeah,
understand.
and Cinematographic pointed out Jim Gordon is also apparently dead in this universe as well. So like Bruce is gone, Jim Gordon's gone.
Yes, but every single one of these details you could have done in a future of the Arkhamverse.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's so weird because of looking at those two games, you would say Suicide Squad is not part of that universe, and
this is.
The other one is.
But this is based on the information we have. I'm sure 10 minutes into playing that game, I'm going to go, okay, this can't be Arkhamverse. But the fact that it feels so much like it when I'm playing the game is going to make that weird. And watch Suicide Squad have a completely different kind of interface and not be anything at all like playing an Arkham game.
Yeah, I don't know. What my biggest thing is like the gameplay looked fine for Gotham Knights. I'm more excited for Suicide Squad just because it's Rocksteady. Rocksteady is they're the developer of the main Arkham series. Origins was okay. There are things I like about it. There are a lot of things that I don't like about it. I've gone on that rant a million times.
They had more time this time though.
Yes, that is a good thing, and they have been spending a lot of time on it. When it first started, I was like, "Wait, are they doing the Damian Wayne thing?" Like, I thought it was going to be futuristic. Batman's dead. Damian Wayne gets the call, and he becomes like. I thought they were going with that scrapped concept that we had heard about a while back, but
I kind of wish they were doing that, but we didn't talk. Actually, let's talk both these games for just a second. On the Gotham Knights side. A couple points I wanted to make that I didn't get to earlier. On the Gotham Knight side, I mean, I am really excited to finally get co-op in that. I was hoping we'd get that in Arkham Knight, and I'm curious to see what that's going to be like. Designs of all those characters.
Are we going to play together? Could we play together? We could play together.
We should. Stop saying.
If we both get on the PlayStation, let's whisper a lot.
Stop saying play together. It's weird.
Let's play together. Yeah.
God, I feel like I'm in a horror film right now. It's like he Skypes me in the
right
middle and
behind you.
Would you like to play a game? Anyway, so I like the designs of all the characters fine. I'm sort of sick of the Rebirth Batgirl suit. I wish we'd stop acting like that's the only cool Batgirl suit. Like, I'm just a little tired of it. I like Batgirl in dark purple. I wish we'd put her back in dark purple. But that's just me.
As opposed to kind of brighter pink purple
the blue thing.
Yeah,
deal. I don't know.
It's very gaudy. Like if you're trying to be like sleuthy, you're not going to be sneaking around in that.
Everybody loves it. No, I don't even mind like bright colors and stuff. It's just the kind of, it's in too many pieces, and I don't want that mask, and I don't know. I just I get why people liked it for the direction that they were going when it came out, but I don't think it fits every version of that character.
From what I've heard, there like could be evolutions of the character, like you can kind of customize them potentially. So cool. Maybe that'll be a thing. Because I don't like that Robin. I don't like the Robin like weird sweatsuit looking cape thing or whatever he has. Like I've never been a fan of that. But
that's fair. But I don't know. But like. It's one of those things that, it looks like the story is going to be they're going to go with, kind of a dark thing like they did before, but the actual aesthetic of it is going to be, there's going to be, some kind of brightness and it's going to be colorful, and that's exciting. I like that. So I don't know. Sure. So I'm a great deal more excited about that so far than Suicide Squad. We haven't gotten any gameplay yet, so who knows?
Yeah, it's just
if I'm just going on stories, I care a lot more about the Gotham Knight or about the Gotham Knights. But I'm so done with, and I had this conversation the other night with Austin with Day Ghost, and he and I are in agreement on this. I'm so done with evil Superman.
Oh yeah.
That's all we do in video games. If Superman's in it, he's gonna, the first time you see him, he's gonna have big bright red scary eyes like we've never done it before. Oh my God, isn't it perverse to see this, like, isn't it so perverse to see like the most altruistic, hopeful man alive? No, I haven't seen him as altruistic and hopeful in so long. This is just Superman now.
Yeah, Superman's just a jerk in everything now. Yeah, he's the worst in Injustice 1 and 2.
Well, and like in the comics with that material, it's fun to read as a Elseworlds kind of thing, as a separate universe. But I'm just really sick of, well, we've got to darken him up or make him the opposite of what he is because people are just like that's outdated. People just don't want that anymore. People just don't want 1938 Superman. And anytime you actually do that Superman, it seems like so different and fresh, and it's like if you just make Superman what he is, everybody goes, "Oh wow, that's a new take. That's kind of different." God, it just drives me crazy. And that's all we're doing now. And I get that he's probably not actually evil and he's mind controlled or whatever. I'm just saying I'm tired of doing that all the time with him. And yes, I get that if you're gonna, well, I was gonna say I get that if you're gonna do like versus the Justice League, maybe you have to do that. No, maybe you don't. They're anti-heroes. Can't you come up with a scenario where you are the anti-heroes fighting the good guys as good guys? Can't you just make them good guys?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool? And I was more excited about this game when I found out that it was versus the Justice League. And then I saw Evil Superman, and now I'm like, well, we'll see what it actually is, but at the moment, I'm not digging on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, oh, crap. It made me think of, we're not going to get into Zack Snyder Justice League. We're not going to get, and I'm also a real big fan of justice. We're not going to get that stupid line or whatever he says. Like, I like truth. And I also like justice.
Big fan of justice. And when I get knocked down at the end, I'm going to laugh real hard for no reason.
Anyway.
Yeah, good times. Somebody, you know what's going to happen inevitably, right? Somebody's going to do, when the Snyder Cut comes out, a really hilarious edit that puts in some of the scenes from that version with it, and it will make it even sillier than I'm sure it will be in certain ways. I guess we'll see, but I don't see Snyder not making a silly movie with those characters. TH1, $2 super chat. How Alfred does Andy Serkis sound, and thoughts on Andy Serkis?
He sounds very Alfred to me. I mean, he sounds very kind of a little bit more posh British. Like he almost sounds like, I mean, he's no Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Bruce, you're becoming a celebrity. That's a terrible Alfred or a Michael Caine impression. But
no, but I think you should use it all the time.
Hello, how are you doing today? I mean, look, I love Andy Serkis. That brilliant casting for Alfred, in my opinion. I think he's a really great choice. Definitely a little bit young on the younger side, but no, he's perfect for me. I'm really excited. It was like when they cast Jeremy Irons. I was like, yes, that is perfect for Alfred. It's just one of the, they seem to pull actors who are kind of obvious, but I mean, I don't think Andy Serkis is very obvious, but like Jeremy Irons, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Where it's just like, it's kind of like when you watch the Batman, it's like, oh yeah, this is just Batman. This is right. So yeah,
even with what is it, Jeffrey Rush?
Jeffrey Rush.
Or
is
not,
he a
not Jeffrey Rush. No. Who's Gordon in that?
You're talking about Gary Oldman.
No. I mean in the new Batman movie.
Oh, Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. That's his name. So
yeah.
I'm watching that trailer with my wife, and she didn't know anything about the background of this movie, and she hasn't been keeping up. So as we're watching it, I felt the need to point out to her that was supposed to be Gordon, and she just looks at me and goes, "Well, yeah."
He has a mustache.
Yeah,
I can see.
She's like, "Well, he looks like Gordon." I'm like, that's amazing. Like, he's played by a black man, and my wife just goes, "Well, yeah, it's Gordon. Like, obviously, that's fantastic." Everything, and that's what I'm saying. Everything about that trailer is like, well, yeah, it's Batman.
Yeah.
She said the same thing. She goes, it might be a little dark for my taste, but I mean, it's Batman. That's what she said.
He has been like, cause he's popped up in the Bond movies ever since Casino Royale. He's been Felix Leiter in that series, and he's so perfectly cast in that. They don't give him enough to do, but I mean, Felix Leiter's never really had much to do in Bond outside of a scene or two. Although one of the movies starts off with his wedding. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I like him.
Jeffrey Wright's been one of those.
I feel like there's other stuff I've seen him in that's not that. I just can't remember what, but there's something I loved him in, and I can't remember what it was.
He's in Westworld. Source Code. He was in Source Code.
Source Code is it. That's what it is, and that's not a great movie, but he's really good in that. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate the ending of that movie.
Well, I used to love it, and then I watched it again, and I was like, wait a minute.
I like that movie well enough. It's just it doesn't I don't like the ending of that at all. I'm like, oh, that's horrible.
For the longest time, I said that was my favorite modern director, and then I realized he's made one movie that I really, really like, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. He's made Moon, Source Code, and Warcraft.
Well, and he made a sequel to Moon that is apparently not good, but I've not seen it. So.
Oh, like an actual? Wasn't it a comic?
No. There's a movie, but I think it was like Sleeper Dropped or something.
I didn't even hear about that.
Well,
Duncan Jones.
Now that you say that, I'm wondering if I'm right about it. I'm pretty sure that actually came out.
Yeah, Duncan Jones. He's David Bowie's son.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's David Bowie's kid.
Wow.
But yeah, no, Jeffrey Wright, he's been in a handful of things. There is a shot, like he plays a really manic character in The Manchurian Candidate. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
No,
the remake.
I never have. I need to.
His performance in that is like haunting. He is like this like extreme PTSD guy who had been experimented on while they were soldiers. Like there's just a shot of him in that movie that sticks in my brain anytime I think of him. It's just like he's so intense in that movie. So I think he's like a really great pick for Gordon. He already has that, like I had tweeted about it, like he already has that like kind of like world weariness look down. Like he's been here, done that a million times. So I like that. But yeah, no, he's perfect.
$5 super chat
from The Last of Us 2. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. From Carl Maxey, the Snyder Cut looks like it might be good, but what does this solve at the end for Snyder fans? This is going to reboot every bad thing Snyder set up. So I guess he's suggesting that a lot of the stuff that he was doing with that movie, even though this is, you know, his version, because the stuff he shot, still, like I was talking about earlier, isn't going to be what he originally intended. So like the pure Snyder cut doesn't exist because they didn't allow him to make that movie.
They never shot any of that stuff. He's already he's already editing down a compromise in the first place.
But but what we got is a compromise of a compromise, and so I get wanting to see whatever it was he shot, and I still agree with people that say that it doesn't look like anything like the same movie. I mean, I'm sure it's going to have some of the same beats, but like, I will be very surprised if there aren't several places where it goes completely different ways and at least has side stories that are, you know, going in different directions. But to answer the question, I mean, I think a lot of those fans, well, I think it's a couple of things. I think some big Snyder fans either don't realize that or are maybe a little bit in denial about it. I think there are some folks that think that this really is like purely 100% what he always set out to make, and it simply isn't. I mean, it simply can't be that. And it's just, I've heard people talk about it like that, and they're like, sorry guys, it's not that. It can't be that. And from the script level, from the very beginning, like that's not possible. But I think there's also people who do realize that, who go, yeah, but I like Snyder as a director, and I want to see what he was making, even even the compromised version, or you know, as close as we can see to it. It's the same reason that people wanted the Donner cut of Superman 2. Like, that's not exactly what he would have made either. It can't be. But you got to see something closer to what that would have been, and you got to see his flavor in Superman again. So it was worth doing. If you like that director, it makes sense that you want to see that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Noah. I concur.
Dago, $7 super chat. Thanks, man. Are you excited for the first fully CGI'd and motion captures of Alfred in the Batman? He's just making a joke.
That'd be amazing if it was Gollum the entire time. Somebody should make I want the Gollum cut of the Batman. That'd be cool.
Although, given that the Penguin doesn't look anything like Colin Farrell, it's entirely possible that Alfred doesn't look anything like Andy Serkis.
I really am. That was the biggest thing about all this, is we hadn't seen anything before
at all,
like, outside of, you know, some like random like set photos and stuff like that, but nothing substantive. And then now you get this trailer, like, just to see what they're doing visually, to see how they're like, I love that we didn't even talk about this, like, I love that Robert Pattinson has messy hair when he takes off the mask. He has the raccoon eyes. Like, he has the whole, like, they're acknowledging that Batman wears makeup.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the first thing I heard people say before I got to see the trailer, because I was busy, and it was a couple hours after it came out before I got to see it. And I got a couple messages that were like, Cap, I won't tell you anything else, but they left the makeup on when he took the mask off, because in Rewinds I've complained about that before. It was like, he takes off the mask, and so...
It's been such a little nitpick of mine for so long. Well, there's that really bad in Batman Returns. There's a really bad shot where he has the makeup, cuts to him, and it's like no makeup, and then he tears off the mask.
It's weird.
It's real weird. But I don't know, a little nitpicky thing. But I love that they're acknowledging it, because that we see the mask. They show the mask. Well, I guess in Batman Begins they show the mask. There's just like little tiny eye slits when it's just laying on the table and Alfred smashes it. So they kind of make it seem like it's just little eye holes he's looking through.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, you ever worn a Halloween costume? You ain't fighting crime in that. Like,
Well, it's like what is it in Scream? Ghostface, the killer. Like, who could run around killing people in that outfit? You wouldn't be able to see anything while running around in that, like the Scream mask.
Mike Myers too, if you think about it.
He has supernatural stuff on his side, I guess.
That's true. He's probably not even using his eyes.
Yeah, he's just smelling. That's why he's breathing all the time.
Oh, is it sonar? Is that sonar breathing?
He's just walking around going.
You can put a knife in each eye, and he still knows exactly where you are. Like, no problem.
He's stabbing.
Yeah, well, and sometimes you'll see that in Halloween movies where he just does this. That's my favorite thing with Michael Myers. He does that
a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
Does do that a lot.
I'm going to get you.
Dagos pointed out, at least in Scream, the killer's always falling over a lot. That's true. The killer does trip on stuff a lot, and like, so you're not wrong.
I'm surprised Michael Myers never takes two knives and just goes like this. I'm gonna get you any direction I can get you. Circular motions.
You'd stab yourself.
Yeah, you've cut your own arms off. Yeah, Carl. Okay, so there are a lot more of these than I realized. So we have got.
Yeah, keep going. I got the time, unless you don't got the time.
Man. No, I'm good. And once again, thanks everybody for being here. We are having a great time, and there's just so much. Can we take a step back for a minute and just say, and just talk about fandom itself? I appreciate that there was legitimately enough stuff to actually do that event. You're right. It was padded. 24 hours was maybe more than they needed. I didn't see every panel. I thought it was cool.
Well, and it wasn't even 24 hours. It was 8 hours of content they ran 3 times.
Yeah, that's true. So
they were going to do 24 hours, and then the day you and I agreed to do this, the day after Fandome, they announced that they were going to split up the event. September, I think, 12th, they're doing another event. So they're taking some of the content that would have been within this 24 hours and putting it on a different day.
This was the reason I wanted to talk about that. Thanks for reminding me about that, because I just in my head I had 24 hours, but then I remembered, oh yeah, that's right, but they repeated stuff because they had that schedule where they had all these things and it said like they were all like reprises or whatever. Encores, they called them. So
yeah.
How much of that has to do with the DC Comics layoffs? Is it likely that now I'm not saying that they had another 16 hours of just comic content, but I am wondering if the reason, if part of the reason that they split it up is because they had comic announcements that they've now completely axed, and when they come back, they're going to have new ones. Because a lot of people are responding to the layoffs like DC Comics is suddenly not even going to be around anymore. They're not going to make comics anymore, and it's pretty clear that that's not what's going on. But they're downsizing really hard. Like I said on the Captain Logan show a couple weeks ago, and I cannot confirm this, or I haven't seen anything that confirms it anyway. The rumor has been that they're going to stop publishing as many monthly comics, and that they're going to go mostly to graphic novels. And if
I had heard that too.
And if that's the case, I mean, they just got rid of the guy on top, Bob Harris, and the Dio they got rid of recently. So we have to assume, or at least this is what I figure. The 5G thing is probably done. Like they're probably not even doing that anymore. So I bet there was like a whole lot of work they did on that that's now been completely scrapped. If that actually still happens, I'll be surprised. And if anybody knows that for sure that's still happening or not, let me know, because I just haven't seen anything on this yet. We've been inundated with this extra comic stuff this weekend, and there wasn't anything announced on the comic side that I know about. But you watched the Jim Lee panel. Did he announce anything?
That was kind of a break period when I was so that was one of the things I kind of was skipping around on, like listening on my phone a little bit. So I didn't they were doing the DC Comics panel, and that was one I kind of glossed over. That and the Flash panel, which I rewatched because I missed the Flash panel. But I don't know. I was curious about what that panel was going to be, especially after like a week before this. I don't know. It was the biggest downer for me. It was like, it's nice seeing all these characters flourish in other mediums, but it's kind of sad that the medium in which they were born out of is kind of whittling away. And it's just kind of tough to be excited when a third of their staff were laid off just before this big event celebrating all of their characters. And
so I would be surprised if that had nothing to do with the decision to split it up suddenly, right? Like that's you know, pretty convenient timing. I was wondering how awkward all of this would feel with their not. With their suddenly laying off a bunch of people on the comic side, and I didn't expect them to address it in any way, but I just wondered if it was going to feel kind of weird where they're trying to get us all excited about DC superhero stuff, but the comic side is being slashed real hard, and they just got rid of like a whole major merchandising wing. They got rid of DC Direct, and here they are trying to sell us stuff. And they laid off almost everybody at DC Universe, but they have a Titans panel. I mean, that's kind of weird, right? But we knew that was going to HBO Max, so that, you know, they can still get away with that. So in making it a shorter event, especially people that aren't in the know and aren't paying attention to the comic side, they did as good of a job as they could have to not, you know, make it feel affected by that. But me knowing that, it remains awkward. I mean, it's, like you said, you know, there's really nothing you can do about that. But I'm glad that there was as much to talk about as there was, because there have been some things like this recently, and I've talked about this before. But there was an hour and a half Star Trek panel that was awful. Apparently, I heard about it, but I didn't get to hear it
for the Comic-Con at home stuff.
Yeah. And they didn't have anything to reveal because the rumors behind the scenes are they're getting completely shut down, and there's not going to be new Star Trek for a while. It sounds very likely that Picard Season 2 doesn't get made. Discovery allegedly has already struck all of its sets before they've even announced that the show is over. So I don't know how true any of that is, but it seems like the lady, I forget her name, at the top right now at CBS wants to hit the reset button, and it doesn't like what they're making right now, and she actually sounds like a Star Trek fan, like she might know something about Star Trek, so that sounds like good news to me. But anyway, this isn't about Star Trek, but I was worried this could be like that a little bit, where it was like, we're gonna make this big deal out of all, and then we have like not all that much to announce. I thought it was weird that they made that big announcement about Affleck 2 days before this. I don't know why that wasn't here, but maybe it was because they
confirmed Keaton too. They confirmed Keaton and Affleck just before the event, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, just wait for the event.
Is it because they couldn't get them to be there for any amount of time? Because they got Affleck to pre-record a really short thing, but he didn't do a whole panel. But you don't have to have them there necessarily. Like, you have Snyder. Like, why wouldn't you just... or not Snyder, you have the whole Flash panel. They could have revealed it there because that's about that movie. Like, why not? I just thought of Snyder because he was also talking about Flash a lot. But like in the Flash panel, I mean, you know, they showed that art, that concept art Keaton, with Keaton there, which is a pretty cool looking piece of art, and
they revealed that Bruce is the one who makes Flash's new suit. They were saying Batman made his suit.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be the '89 Batman or the Affleck Batman when they said that, though, because
they said that as they transitioned to the slide,
which tells me nothing. They just said Batman makes his suit, but they're showing a slide with Keaton's suit, but that doesn't mean it's that Batman. I wasn't sure what they meant by that.
Yeah, maybe
it would be kind of fun if that was what happened, but I don't know why Keaton would know how to make a suit.
I think that Batman, by this point, as time goes on, he'd get more technological. He already had a pretty...
I just like that he's still wearing an '89 looking suit, but I hope they update it so that he can move his head and stuff. Because see, suddenly I'm gonna get I collect '89 merchandise. This is gonna be a problem for me. It's gonna be a big problem.
You're gonna want all the Flash movie. You're gonna want all the Flash movie.
Just the stuff with Keaton in it, but I'm gonna need it. Oh, and I'll predict this too. I'm gonna need it, and they're gonna make some. Like side poster that will be the '89 bat symbol connected to Flash somehow. It'll be like that symbol with lightning around it. You mark my words, they will do that, and I will have to have that. I will buy that.
They will have to do something like
Doesn't even matter that I don't like Ezra Miller's Flash that much. He was kind of fun in that panel, though. Some of those Flash facts that he brought in were kind of amusing.
They just gave him a bunch of facts. That's all they like. They gave him a bunch of fun facts to read the entire time.
I want to think that he looked some of that up himself, but maybe not.
Yeah. Well, did you see the Jake from State Farm portions of the
I saw one of them, yeah.
I took a screen cap of it. it's clear to me that they just sent him a shelf and all of that Batman merchandise to put behind him, because the shelf still had a sticker on the back that had like on one of the things where it's like, you know, you put a shelf together and it says piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. It had like a little sticker that had like B or something on the shelf. Like they just put that shelf together, and that was a staged thing. He didn't really have all that stuff.
Well, I thought that even every time fans were on screen with their backgrounds with like Snyder's with like Snyder Justice League stuff or Wonder Woman stuff, like even the girl in the Wonder Woman panel that was like, I'm this huge Wonder Woman fan, like even her setup in the background looked kind of staged to me. Now, she may be a huge Wonder Woman fan and she might have had that stuff all over her house, so whatever, but yeah, no,
mine's staged for this show specifically.
Yes.
I don't really like Batman.
But Dan, if they put you on a fandom panel, they would ask you to block out all those DVDs that have nothing to do with DC things, and they would tell you to replace it all with Batman stuff. What I'm saying is they asked them to stage those.
Somebody had something in the background at one point that was not DC related, and I was like,
it must have been something that they were able to sign off on then.
Maybe.
Well, I may be wrong. I don't know. It's just the one TV show I was almost on was a Warner Brothers thing, and there were certain things that weren't Warner Brothers related that they were able to get signed off on, and other things that they weren't. And this was, I get, an internet thing, and so you wouldn't think that they'd be as touchy about that. But there were places where they would have footage where they would like blank out people's faces and things, and that makes me think that they're thinking about all of that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
They treated it like a thing they could broadcast on TV to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have it set up so people who re-upload, because I uploaded, I just rendered out the Batman segment for a friend of mine who missed everything, so I like just unlisted linked it to him, and it was already like ineligible for copyright because they already have it, so it'll get flagged if it's fandom stuff. Like you can't monetize that. So they're already thinking ahead with the YouTube automated machine.
Yeah. Carl Maxey, $5 super chat. Am I the only one who thinks Snyder was getting off on the fact that people were kissing his butt? No one likes his cynical JLA. Okay, well, that's hyperbolic and not true. Certainly there are, well, and also his Justice League is not out yet, but yeah, there are people that love what he did with those characters in Man of Steel and BVS. I don't understand that, particularly with BVS, but obviously you wouldn't have that. And it's not an insignificant number of people. You wouldn't have that whole Dan's got that in the background.
Anytime you say BVS, I'll just be like,
yes. You can't say no one. He's got that there in his background.
Yeah,
but
I want to qualify. Like, yeah. I like that movie. I completely get everybody's criticisms, like, because I've heard them a million times. I'm not one of those fans who like deifies these directors and writers and stuff. Yeah. Like, I'm a fan. Like, and I'd love to see what they do next. But like some of these Zack Snyder fans, and it was the same thing with Christopher Nolan too. And now I'm starting to see it with Matt Reeves. After that last panel,
not even a movie
people are like deifying them. They're literally like editing pictures of their faces over Jesus and like replying in their replies and stuff. And Zack Snyder's had that for years, and Nolan had it, and Nolan we trust and all that stuff. It's their people. They are creative people. They're making their thing. Like you might not like it, you might like it, but like. I like Batman v Superman for what it is. I might not like it why Zack Snyder likes it. Like when I'm watching his commentary on that movie, sometimes I'm just like, oh, okay. He does seem a little like he thinks everything's so like grandiose. But I mean, I don't get fans that like do that. I don't get it.
Well, and sort of in Snyder's defense, I will say that if you, and I do think it's a mistake, especially if your movie is that polarizing. Man of Steel was already polarizing, and BVS is less than polarizing. Most people don't like it over the people that like it. You shouldn't be on the internet looking at criticism, and if you do, it makes sense that you would maybe be taken aback, because he clearly didn't expect people to hate that movie. I think legitimately he thought everyone would love that movie, or most people would, even though Man of Steel was polarizing. I don't understand that. He seems to be living in a different world than I am. He expected that, and when it didn't, it seems like he was probably devastated. And when you're actually making the mistake of looking at the internet and reading Twitter, and you're devastated, it's going to be a lot easier to really take in what the people that are deifying you are selling. And I I mean, I empathize, I guess, to some degree with that he would be, well, see, these people love me. They worship the ground I walk on. I must have done something right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But yes, to answer your question, yeah, he was definitely getting off on that. It also must have been, I will say, awkward for him, having to like sidestep, everything that really happened, not really talk about. That's such an awkward situation.
He acknowledged it a little bit. Because I think that the lady who was, one of the founders of the Snyder Cut movement thing, she was talking about, she had kind of alluded to it and said, I don't want to bring things down. And then because whenever he does talk about this, a lot of his main message, a lot of the time, because I've seen a few interviews with him in the last couple months, and he really appreciates the fact that the movement raised such a large amount of money for suicide prevention.
Well, yeah, of course, sure,
and all that stuff.
No, and that's great, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but what I'm saying is, but he's not going to talk about the movie that was released in theaters. I mean, how could he?
Yeah,
right?
He kind of refuses to. And he's talking about how he's never seen it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, he's never seen it.
Well, that makes sense.
And he doesn't want to see it.
Yeah. And he's not going to talk about, and I mean, he's kind of saying the opposite, which just isn't true. He's not going to talk about the fact that if there wasn't a changeover of hands and Warner's hadn't merged with AT&T or was bought out by, I'm still not totally sure how that works, if they were bought out, that this wouldn't have happened. Like I'm just saying that there's a lot of stuff that obviously he can't bring up, or he's unwilling to bring up, and it just made that whole thing kind of weird to watch. TH1.
Did you see any of?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you see that? I think it was like Justice Con or whatever. I don't know. There was like a convention. That's the first reveal they had done of the black and whites, or the black and white suit. But that was like a fan event put on by people, Snyder Cut people. I think it's called Justice Con or something like that.
No, I didn't know about that.
You probably would have cringed a little bit more during that interview, just because those people were so excited to be able to like interact with him and talk with him and have him on this panel showing that clip. And that's where he had said about they were going to be showing a teaser at Fandome, which, I mean, everybody kind of assumed anyway. But that seems to happen a lot, where he's kind of put in this like interview scenario where he's talking with these super fans who just want to, worship the ground he walks on. And he doesn't seem too bothered by it.
Yeah, I didn't know about that at all. No problem. TH1, $5 super chat. They mentioned that Robert. You're talking about Pattinson. That Pattinson helped design the Batsuit. How good of a design did he do? How much input should an actor have in the design of a costume? That's an interesting question, because I haven't heard of that kind of thing really happening all that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I liked that Reeves had brought up about, it started with Reeves and the costume designer, and then when Robert Pattinson came along, like they brought him into the conversation as well. And they had mentioned about, like, I've seen so many article headlines about the advice that Christian Bale gave Robert Pattinson and Ben Affleck, both about, make sure you can go to the restroom if you need to, if you're in that suit. And so that's one of the things they actually catered to. I don't know how much, how much actual input he had.
Well, it's funny because Reeves talks about it like it was as much about making that functional for the story as it was about the actor. Where he's like, look, if we're gonna do a grounded, Batman that could sort of exist in the real world, he needs to be able to go to the bathroom. The bathroom in that suit. And I'm thinking like, well, Nolan called his grounded, and there's no going to the bathroom in that. That's like an astronaut suit. If he's going to the bathroom in that suit, it's because he has a filtration system built into the suit.
Yeah, there's no way that Christian Bale Batman suit, like, there's no way one person could put that on. Like, Alfred's helping him out with that. There's no quick putting that on. So it would make sense to be a little bit more functional. And I like that. I like seeing that. I like the whole like weird arm things that he has, like the little like arrows or whatever those are, and then he has the gauntlets.
I guess I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's like this kind of weird part of the suit that has these long, I don't know if it's projectiles or what, but yeah, it looks kind of cool. But anyway. I don't know what the function is for there.
Draco Ares, what are your thoughts on the Static Shock film in early development? I hadn't heard about that.
So that was outside of the event. Apparently, they didn't mention it in the event, but apparently there were confirmed, like, there have been talks about a live action and or animated Static Shock movie, and that was kind of the big thing outside of the event. Man, I would love that. I would absolutely love it. Like, I haven't watched Static Shock in so long, but that series was like up there with Batman the Animated Series when I was younger.
Oh yeah, I just never watched enough of it. I need to finally sit down and do that. Let's address this real quick. AMC Comics, the thing I find questionable is that Zack Snyder promises he wouldn't use any footage from Whedon's version, but he says he hasn't seen the film. I don't agree with that. That makes perfect sense to me because people want, regardless of whether or not he's seen that movie, regardless of whether or not he liked what was done with it, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't. He's promised the fans that really wanted that movie, and this is also what HBO Max wants because they know that there's an audience for this, and they want it to feel like a completely original thing that has never come out before, right? Again, they want their Mandalorian. He said it's going to be 100% my movie, which is not wholly true, only in that there are things that he was told he couldn't do early on, right? But as far as it's going to be the stuff I shot, he doesn't need to see the other film to make that claim, or to want to do it that way, or to even be told by the powers that be that he needs to do it that way, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So he wouldn't, like, again, even if he loved that movie, he would still probably do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and what would be the point otherwise? Then you're just giving them the same thing.
Well,
you've already seen.
We can't. I mean, I guess I'll say we can't know that for sure until we've seen it, because since they're having to work with the footage they have, and they may or may not be doing any reshooting, it's possible, Dan, that we could watch that show. Which, oh, by the way, I do like that Snyder said that eventually there will be a version that if you want to watch it all together, you can watch it all together.
Yeah. I like that.
But it's possible that we could watch that movie, Dan, and then go, well, if you just use certain shots, you could have filled in certain shots from the other movie. You could have filled in some things that are awkward and didn't work. Yeah, for sure. I get that. Game Station 3, $5 super chat. Thanks so much. The Snyder Cut is more like a case of being what Dominion prequel to The Exorcist was to Exorcist the Beginning. Interesting, because I don't know that franchise, so...
Wait, say that? Can you read that one more time?
The Snyder Cut is more like a case of being what Dominion prequel to The Exorcist was to Exorcist the Beginning. And I just don't know what any of that means, because I don't know that franchise.
I've only seen the first and the third Exorcists, and I haven't really dabbled in any of the prequel stuff. So,
but is he saying that there was a movie that was released and then way later the more pure version of it came out that was maybe even contradicted by other things that came after it? Like, is that what he's suggesting?
I don't know.
Okay,
because I know
Sorry, man. I don't know how to respond to that because I've not seen.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm trying to think. Like, I'm pretty sure the beginning was the one with Stellan Skarsgård as. And again, I haven't seen it, so I've only seen little parts of it. But I think he's playing the priest from, like, the one who dies in Exorcist. Anyway, yeah, I don't know the history of that franchise very well.
At least you've seen any of it, because I have.
Yeah,
I watched the first 15 minutes of The Exorcist once because everybody said it was really scary, and then I needed to finally watch it, and then something came up and I never finished it. So I should probably watch that at some point.
It's pretty good. I watched the director's cut a few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. It's pretty good.
I always hear how much that holds up and that it's still actually kind of creepy.
It's really good. Third one's good too. The third, I've only heard jokes about the second one and seen small clips, and it looks kind of dumb. But the third one, actually, the Legion is actually really good because it was kind of made not as an Exorcist movie. And then they shoved a bunch of Exorcist stuff in there to connect it with reshoots and everything, and they made it an Exorcist movie. And I was like, all right,
interesting.
But yeah, because it was directed by the guy who wrote the Exorcist book, or books, William Peter Blatty. The end.
The end. Can you imagine if we had tried to do other segments in this show?
Well, we completely skipped over Bat Life.
I didn't
usually do that at the very beginning, but this is Bat Life.
I thought it was pointless. especially when we came in and I saw the viewer count, and I was like, there's people here that have never watched this show. They don't care what we've been doing that has to do with Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've done the most Batman stuff in the last 2 months.
Just save it, okay? Just
Okay,
put it in your back
save it
pocket
for next time.
and you can bring it next time. Make notes. Write it down. That's what paper's for.
Yeah.
Or your computer or your phone. It's the future. Carl Maxey.
I'll write it on my copy of Cat.
No, don't do that, because your fiance is going to break it and then throw it in the trash, and then you won't have your notes.
Oh man! But let's look at Tay Swift right there.
Why are you putting that in my face? Why? Why do I have cats in my face?
Jason Derulo. Sorry, continue.
Cats out of my face. Carl Maxey. $5 super chat. The Batman movie is giving me Gotham series vibes, and I'm feeling it. I wish I had my sign here. And I'm feeling it. I fully trust Matt Reeves and hope he makes sequels to this. Well, first of all, I mean, you're saying the same thing that I said earlier. I also thought it looked like Gotham if you could take Gotham seriously, and if it wasn't so counterintuitive, and basically, you know, black comedy 60s Batman, but so of course I agree with that. As far as making sequels, it would be really strange if we greenlit a TV show made by a really well-liked and beloved you know TV showrunner, and then this movie didn't perform and it didn't get any sequels. Like I'm telling you, I predict, like, if it's anything like as good as it looks, it gets 5. It'll be John Wick. It'll get at least 5 movies.
Yeah.
Especially because
nice.
we don't have to worry about reboots anymore. If they really run with this multiverse thing, you can keep rebooting things and keep the old franchises going. That is the really nice thing about the multiverse thing. You hope that it doesn't get too convoluted. You hope that every movie doesn't have to have somebody from another universe in it. That could become a problem. I've got a lot of friends, especially co-hosts that come onto the channel a lot, that are probably really unhappy with this multiverse idea because they don't want that to take over, and they're sick of multiverses. And as a fan of the concept of the multiverse, I cannot disagree with that. I mean, I'm with you. But having it, as long as we're not constantly using it as a crutch, makes it a lot easier to have multiple versions of the same character at the same time. You don't like this Superman, we'll just make another Superman. Or if there's an audience, and this is the other nice thing too, you can make smaller movies, you can make cheaper movies, you can make movies that aren't for everybody. You can say, like Joker, we made a movie with a smaller budget, he doesn't need to make $1 billion. Hey, it might anyway, and it did. Yeah. Or at least it made a lot. I don't know if it got to $1 billion, but I mean, it did really well. So I'm pretty sure it did. So that's the beauty of that, right? They started with, after the Snyder stuff wasn't working, well, maybe we'll just make movies and hope for the best and stop worrying so much about an interconnected continuity. And now they're going to try to have their cake and eat it too, and it might actually work. We can just keep making, you know, if it's time for a new Batman, it might not be time for the old Batman to stop. Yeah.
No, I like the idea that, in theory, well, it depends on the timing of everything. I don't think Flash is coming out next year, but that we will have like 3 cinematic Batmans or Batmen, and you know, one is Keaton, and you got Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson. Like, that's real cool that we don't just have to stop it because we're already redoing. Like, I get it. Like from a cynical standpoint, it's just like, there's too many. Like, I remember talking to my mother-in-law at one point, and she was just like, right before Batman v Superman was coming out, and she was like, so what is this like for the regular person who has not been in this world at all? It's so confusing.
Yeah.
Because it's like, wait, so is this still the other one that was from a couple years ago, or is this the Michael Keaton Batman? And it's just like, yeah, she didn't like all of them coming together. She didn't like the crossing over and all that stuff. And I was just like, the end. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
No. You're I mean, I get that, and like, it's hard.
But I like it.
This is gonna sound awful, but it's hard not to say, like, if you're, you know, an older person or a person that just, you know, didn't grow up with this kind of stuff, with comic book storytelling, it is harder to get into. And I mean, you know, mainstream, you know, big 2 comics are hard to get into. And compared to, those convoluted universes in comics, this so far is nothing.
Yeah.
So far, but I get it. I mean, somebody's let's say my age. I'm 36. Somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother. When they grew up, movies were movies. You went to a movie. And you watched it, and it was over. When it was over, you went home. And there might be a sequel, but most of those were terrible, and usually it wasn't worth going to them and bothering with them. Movies overall were a single event affair. That was it. You didn't have franchises, and the few that you had were mostly complete cash-ins and not worth watching. So nobody was going to Halloween 5. Going like, oh, we got this great, universe of movies. They're like, is this thing dead yet? Like, haven't we beaten this to death? Like, that's what it was like back then. And it's just, things have changed. Movies have become television, and television has become movies, largely, in a lot of ways.
The MCU is my favorite television show.
Yeah, well, I've always said that.
It really is a television show.
It is. When I did my my Avengers rewind, I said, like, it's like, Captain America 1.5, and it's Iron Man 2.5, and it's Black Widow 0.7, and like. They're all sequels to each other with an ongoing storyline, whether or not they're able to keep the continuity completely straight. Dave Atkins, £5 super chat. Hey Cap, absolutely love the Batman reveal. The tone and feel is like a David Fincher thriller, and a lot of people are saying that, and got chills when he started pummeling the guy. Yeah, I did too. That's very exciting.
But
You've never seen Batman do that in live action, anyway.
Yeah, I watched. Matt Reeves quote retweeted a guy reacting to the trailer, and the guy was going nuts during that part. I'm like, he's beating a man brutally. Why are you getting so excited? I'm just kind of like, oh, like, and it's intense and cool, but at the same time, he's beating the crap out of a man. That's a person.
Well, I'm not say like, this.
Oh yeah, go Batman, go! Like, I don't know.
Was he watching Ninja Turtles 2 to the side too? Go Batman, go Batman, go!
Go Batman.
Go!
But yeah, no, that scene that's pretty intense. I do like that part.
Now I don't want to hurt. I don't say this to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's what reaction videos are kind of for. Like, a lot of people that make reaction videos is turn on a camera and get ready to freak out, get ready to get pumped. You think if there was a camera on them, they'd be like, "Oh my god!" Like, I mean, they might, but like, what you're describing is the reaction video that I watched back in 2011 when the finale of Smallville dropped, and this guy was losing his mind because because Clark was finally in a costume that Tom Welling refused to actually wear, and he's just like losing. Oh my god, he's super! What did you think would happen in the last episode of the 10 seasons? Wait. What do you think would happen? And then I'm just imagining that same guy doing that with Batman pummeling a guy. So once again, Warner Brothers Pictures gave us $1.
Oh, yay!
Warner Brothers Pictures.
Hey, Warner Brothers Pictures, they left. They were already gone.
Oh,
once they heard us talking about cats. They were out.
Well, they probably didn't like it when I couldn't remember whether or not they were bought out or got merged. That's probably why they left.
Pretty sure it was a merge.
I think it was a merge, wasn't it? Yeah. Because
Time Warner, it's all so sticky, man. Like, it's just like we are edging towards monopolies all the way around.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
I mean, we're seeing it now, especially after, like, with all this COVID theater shutdown stuff. Like, Universal's already making a deal with AMC to shorten the theatrical window to like a few weeks now, as opposed to a few months.
Wasn't the theatrical window already a few weeks?
No, the theatrical window was 3 months. You couldn't put, like, I think 2 months for digital and then 3 months for
What
physical.
Do you mean by window? I thought you meant how long a movie was in a theater. You never see a movie in a theater for more than a few weeks.
How long they can run the movie in the theater before they can put it out on home media.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I got you.
That's what the theatrical window. Like, they didn't always, like, I lived near an AMC. It was 24 screens, so they would be playing movies up to the week they came out on Blu-ray.
So you're saying now they've made a deal where you might get a movie on DVD 6 weeks after you saw it.
Yeah, a month after you
saw it.
From Universal. From Universal.
But I could see every other company following suit depending on what happens.
Yeah, well, Regal wasn't happy about it. Like other theater chains were not happy about that because it's like that's been a point of contention for 15, 20 years. It's been a long time.
And if movie theaters are going to be really adversely affected, I mean, obviously they already have, but I mean, if we're going to get to a point where there's a different distribution model, that's going to make it happen even faster.
Yeah. So
if anybody else jumps
it's going to turn
board.
theaters into tentpole cinema. That's all it's going to be. And you'll probably have a couple boutique houses that show independent movies, and otherwise it goes out straight to VOD.
Well, we've talked about this a lot lately on the Captain Logan show, but I'm so conflicted about that because there's parts of me that love that, and there's parts of me that's really sad about it. And it's just, it's very complicated.
I understand it.
Yeah, because just on a completely selfish note, there's a part of me that would love to have the option when a movie comes out to stay home and watch it or go to the theater and see it. If it's a movie I've really got to see, like just for what I do, just me personally with what I do.
Yeah, I understand.
Wouldn't that be, all things being equal, wouldn't that be nice? And I still say that if that were to happen, suddenly movies are liable to get greenlit that never would have gotten greenlit if they only went to the theater. And so you're liable to see more creativity in filmmaking. In mainstream filmmaking, if that happens, but there are obviously major downsides to it as well. So it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be crazy to see what happens, and interesting to see how it affects the superhero market. If will big $200-300 million movies even need to continue to get made, or does everything go on a smaller budget when that happens? I just don't know.
Yep.
Devontae Brown, $5 super chat. Thank you very much. If you search Pro Ren FX on Instagram,
I looked that up.
They confirm it is Colin Farrell because they did the prosthetics on him. Okay, there you go.
They did. I looked it up and I was like,
I know that conversation was 2 hours ago, but
that was so long ago.
Yeah, no, it was. The super chat I'm about to read is from 8:18, and it is now 9:55. But we've had a lot to say, so
love y'all. Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, and if you didn't stick around, I know you're not here anymore, but I completely understand that. It makes perfect sense, and I'm sorry we didn't get to your super chat in a more timely fashion. Tom, $5 super chat. Do you agree? Thanks. That it gives off. He's talking about the Batman, I assume, a little bit of a Mask of the Phantasm vibe. I don't know if he's talking about the Batman or if he's talking about Gotham Knights, but I'm assuming he's talking about. Excuse me, I don't know if he's talking about the Batman, but I'm assuming that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Just in the kind of proto-Batman early days.
I just watched Mask of the Phantasm the other day.
I really want to watch that again. Because, I mean, I've seen it a million times, but it keeps coming up in the last couple weeks. And every time we talk about it, I'm like, oh, as soon as I get done with this, I want to go watch Mask of the Phantasm, but I don't have time.
My fiance had never seen it. She had only seen the very, very end, so she had already been spoiled for it. But she didn't remember, so that was nice. But yeah, no, Mask of the Phantasm, I could see some of those vibes. Yeah, like you said, like proto-Batman stuff, where he's kind of starting out. But kind of a little bit of that kind of sins of the past sort of deal. But I mean, that's yeah, I could see some vibes.
Would it be crazy if Phantasm was in one of those movies?
That would be really cool, actually.
It would be really cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that'd actually be a good twist for, I mean, it's kind of like Hush, where it's like, it'd be a good twist for somebody who doesn't know what the reveal is.
Mr. Bronsky.
What does he say?
Of death awaits.
I was trying to remember what he's, what
she says,
yeah,
Dan.
Hey, look, I'm not trying to spoil
a 25-year-old movie that most of the Batmosphere audience, well, a lot of the folks here are not the Batmosphere audience, I'm sure. But welcome. Usually we talk about...
They will be from now on, right?
Older Batman things.
Monthly, every month, last Sunday of the month.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Robin next time.
Oh, yeah.
Every time, except for this time, we pick a character or an aspect of Batman, and we make most of the show about that, and we give you our definitive version of that. And speaking of that, Dan, what was your definitive panel for Fandome?
I mean, it's got to be the Batman, right? Like, that was just it. We got everything we wanted and more with that, or just enough. Like, that it really kind of hit that. Like, I want to say Suicide Squad just because I love Sefton Hill and I love Rocksteady, and but
that's way low on my list. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm such a big fan of theirs, and I love the Arkham games. Like, I just have they're my favorite. But yeah, the Batman. No, it's hands down the Batman. That teaser hits the vibe so perfectly of what we wanted. You know, he's been saying for years at this point that, you know, he was giving us a detective, you know, a true detective story with Batman, and it feels exactly what we're getting.
Boy, that's a crossover.
What?
Batman with True Detective.
Oh, True Detective, yeah. But like a real detective story. Yeah.
It's I guess second on my list would be the Suicide Squad, because even though I'm not totally sure if I'm gonna like that movie, it was a fun panel, and I liked what they did with. I mean, they got all 18 actors there, and they put them like 9 and 9, and like picking teams was really funny, and I enjoyed that a lot. They made a show of it. They sort of made that into a product, and I enjoyed that.
I liked that James Gunn was like, "This is like the most messed up Brady Bunch I've ever seen."
That was really funny. Because that's what it looks like with the windows. Yeah.
And they were popping in like one at a time.
Carl Maxey, this must be a reference I'm just not understanding. $5 super chat. If Rick Flag doesn't say "This is Katana, she's got my back," I'm gonna be disappointed. What does that mean?
This is Katana. She's got my back. Her sword. Don't get killed by her though. Her sword traps the souls of the victims.
Does he say that
she kills
in that movie?
Yeah, he says
I don't remember that.
That's her introduction to the movie. When they get on the helicopter, he goes, "This is Katana. She's got my back.
Oh, that's right.
Don't get killed by her though, because her sword traps the souls of its victims." And that's her introduction to the movie. That is the stupidest writing I've ever seen in my life. It was the worst. It was absolutely the worst.
I think he actually had that dialogue in this. Like, it wasn't 80 yard behind him, was it?
It might have been 80 yard.
Because that sounds like 80 yard dialogue to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
but,
man.
Like, he was saying it. Well, they might have cut to her, but like it starts off, "This is Katana. She has my back."
But my point, that means they wrote that and intended to film it that way, if that's the case. That's okay. Yeah. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Cap, your entry in the JSA will be great. Thanks. I don't know if that would be the team I would pick for myself to be in.
I didn't even know about the JSA until yesterday, pretty much.
Oh, really? Go back and watch the two-parter that Jeff Johns wrote in season 8 or 9 of Smallville. The JSA episode. It's pretty cool. Not that that's like the definitive JSA thing, but that's a show that you know something about, so you might enjoy that.
It's true. I never got that far into Smallville.
Their Dr. Fate's pretty cool. Oh, I thought you watched a lot of Smallville. I didn't know that.
I watched the first like 4 or 5 seasons, but then I fell off.
Oh, okay. Well, that should have been a lot of Smallville. But unfortunately, they made 5 more, and now it's harder to say that. Now it's half. But when you watch 4 or 5 of a show that in total, that most should have been 6 seasons, Dan, you watched quite a bit of it. Mm-hmm.
That's why I can't do those. Like, I tweeted yesterday because I was watching the Titans panel, and they were doing the fan favorite moments. They did the like top 5 fan favorite moments, and I'm like, every single one of these are so miserable. Like, these are the favorite moments of the show. And look, you might love Titans. Nothing against you for liking Titans. It's just not my vibe. It's too angsty.
That pilot, I don't get it.
The vibe of it is so weird, and I like dark stuff.
But it felt mean spirited, and
that's what I mean. It just feels miserable the entire time. Like. There was
again,
one
it feels like
conversation.
It feels like that Zack Snyder kind of juvenile thing, except worse. At least that pilot, because I haven't watched any more than that. But I've seen it twice now, and but I haven't watched any more of it. What I saw that, it just felt like, isn't it cool to see characters that you're used to seeing, like saving people and being again hopeful and trying to make the world a better place, just ripping into people. Isn't that the best? I'm like, there's other characters you can, like.
Yeah, it's violent for the sake of violence. They swear when they don't.
And is it still 1993? You know what I mean? Like, because that was how we were trying to sell superheroes in 1993 with Image. That was the period where it was all about like let's darken up everybody and look how edgy we are, and like we never got past that, really. Like,
it's not my flavor. And like judging from the top 5 best moments from the show, I don't know how, like, it wasn't enticing. There was one scene with Dick and Jason that was actually really good. They were talking about like, Jason's the current Robin, he was the former Robin, like, and they have this kind of nice conversation. or not nice conversation, but they have an interesting conversation with each other in an elevator. And that was like the only thing that I was like, oh, okay, that was all right.
What is, and again, I haven't watched the rest of that show, so maybe this isn't fair, but it looked really bad. What is it with bad things only having good scenes in elevators? You ever notice that?
Like TMNT?
Like TMNT in 24, yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja
Okay,
Turtles.
that may be the only other example. But anyway, I don't know. Folks, let me know if for some reason I should watch any more of that show.
Titans.
Yeah,
I get it suggested to me all the time, but there's nothing from it that I think looks good. Like,
it's so angsty. I feel like both Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld should have their names on it just on principle. They didn't have anything to do with it, but just on they almost deserve a cut just because of the tone of it.
That's so funny.
It's just how I feel about it.
Carl Maxey said, "Don't watch."
Carl Maxey, $5 super chat. Do you think the Riddler's riddles are useless if Matt Reeves' Batman can just Google the answer? Well, it sounds like he's going to come up with riddles that he made up himself that you wouldn't just be able to Google. And if it's a thing where you need like some kind of a key or something, then.
Yeah, what's black and white and red all over Batman?
Well, if Batman has to look that up,
then
he ain't the world's greatest detective, let me tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And then you watch Batman Forever and you're like, some of these riddles are the craziest. It's like Batman, like the Adam West Batman riddles, a
only possible
nonsense.
A sparrow with a machine gun. It's the only possible answer. No, I think, Batman Forever's worst problem was most of them were just really easy to figure out. It's a clock. It's a clock! Duh!
Yeah. But they didn't have Google back then.
Well, I was going to say, what if the whole social commentary of the movie, this is a joke, by the way. What if the whole social commentary of the movie, Dan, was Batman is actually not that great of a detective, but like he grew up with the internet, so he's never really used his own brain, so he Googles everything, and he's the world's greatest detective because now we all are. Like, what if that's what it was about?
Alfred, Google Maps how to get to, like, he just uses Google Maps in the Batmobile. He has it on his dash. He has a backup cam.
Well, sir, if we're all the world's greatest detective, none of us are. Mr. Roboto. Oh, no, it just jumped down on me. There's just too many. There's just so many questions. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat.
Questions.
Cap, would you want to see a Gordon Levitt Batman movie? Especially if we're getting other things? Sure. Like, the fact that this exists makes me answer that question maybe differently than I would have before.
I would have said yes either way, but I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, but I also like Bruce Wayne and have been a little bit sick of and lately a little miffed that so much Batman stuff doesn't have Batman in it. Like, did you see the
It's true. In the comics, yeah.
Did you see everything. What are you talking about? We got a Harley Quinn show.
I guess
it's not about Batman. Like, Batman's in it, but it's not about Batman.
Batman's
we've got like so much of the Batman peripheral stuff lately, or so much of the stuff lately, the mainstream stuff has been used to be peripheral characters. We're not getting enough actual Batmans. Like, I don't mind them getting their own stuff, but like, I'm really glad there's a Batman movie coming out next year. Like, that's exciting to me because we got two really big AAA games. Neither of them is about Batman.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not
the perfect Batman game.
Yeah, that's the thing is I'm not complaining too much about that. I'm just saying that like there's nothing else. You know what I mean? Like I get the argument of, well, we had 4, Batman games. Maybe it's time to move on. It's okay to do other characters. I'm not actually complaining about that. What I'm saying is it's nice to have some variety and to like I started as a Batman fan, not just a fan of those characters. And I know a lot of people are more like, and I think that we have a generation now of kids that grew up with more being fans of the villains and the Bat family and peripheral characters.
Sure.
And so Batman's not about Batman anymore. Batman's about a world. And that's cool and all, but call me old-fashioned, I still like stories about Bruce Wayne. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely,
So I want some of that too. So that's why the Joseph Gordon-Levitt thing would have driven me crazy if that became its own franchise, and for years and years we didn't get a Bruce Wayne movie. I'm looking ahead. That's the point I'm making.
I get what you mean. Yeah, I think I've talked about it in my just in previous episodes, but since we have so many people here who aren't the regular viewers, my Batman fandom comes down to like the movies, the animated series, eventually the games. But when it came to like like the Justice League Unlimited and stuff like that. I never got around to that show. I just wasn't. Not that I'm not interested in it. It's just I'm here for Batman. I'm not here for these other characters. I don't care about Hawkman or his name isn't Hawkman, is it? Is it just Hawk?
What? Who are we talking about? In what?
Hawkman? Hawk?
I mean,
in Justice League?
There's a character named Hawkman. Yes, Hawkman.
Okay, Hawkman.
Hawkman and a hot girl. Yeah, the Thanagarians. Yeah.
Sure. For some reason, that just reminded me of Hawk from First Contact.
They're Thanagarians. Yeah.
Hawk. Anyway, like I just don't care about all of those peripheral characters. I don't care about the Justice League, and like I think as time has gone on, I've got more interested in it, and that's one of the reasons why I don't know any of these characters.
Yeah, sure.
But if they could get introduced in good stories, and there isn't like 500 episodes of something I have to watch, I'd rather just see them in the movies, and it seems like we're getting a lot of them. So that's cool for me.
Lewis Cox, £5 super chat. I would love a Green Arrow Arkham style game. That could be cool. I mean, we've talked about that a lot on the Captain Logan show. I also agree with that.
We got that little nod in Arkham Knight. Oliver Industries, or not Oliver Industries.
Queen Industries.
Queen Industries. Thank you, Oliver Queen.
It would be cool to have an Arkham style game that was more about range weapons, right? Where there's some hand-to-hand combat, but so it would almost be like a mix of a third-person shooter.
Well, that's what Sefton was talking about with Suicide Squad. He said he referred to gunplay.
Okay.
So there is going to be projectile stuff.
Well, now you say that, I saw that trailer, but I didn't actually watch the panel.
The panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The panel was pretty good. It explained it a little bit more because he talked a good bit.
Okay. Well, that's cool. I just realized I missed that. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Superman is just evil now, Cap, and a top-notch jerk. I mean, much of the time, that's kind of the case in different. I mean, it's not in the comics necessarily, but Bendis doesn't seem to know how to write him. So it's also, you either get Superman but not good, or something called Superman that's not Superman, and also much of the time not good.
Not good.
And then, the best Superman stuff recently has been stuff where we do an alternate version of him. And we just haven't had a lot of really good, I mean, there's stuff I haven't read, I'm sure. But, I mean, the last really great Superman story that I know about was Earth 1. I haven't read anything since then that was great. So, yeah. And we've talked a lot about why Superman seems to be difficult to write and that kind of thing. We've done whole shows on that.
For sure.
So yeah, Tom, $2. So we are now, Dan, talking about the final hour of Super Chats.
Oh my God.
We're back to 9:21 p.m. Tom, $2 super chat. 223 current viewers. I think a new record. Way to go. Oh, thanks. I mean, I'm sure a lot of that is the subject, but thanks so much, and I hope people have enjoyed our conversation. And thanks for sticking around, if you've stuck around this long, and hope you didn't mind the lengthy video, but we've had a lot of fun making it. And Dan, I hope you're not about to fall over. I hope you're good, because we've been at this a good long time.
I'm good.
And we know now that Dan is wearing shorts.
Yes, I am wearing shorts.
Dayghost.
Got hairy legs.
Dayghost, would you stop it? Okay, Dayghost was trolling people earlier in the comments. So Dayghost is Austin. He's been on the channel a few times. He's from Canada. He and I have been hanging out some and playing video games and stuff. And Austin was on the After Dark last week on Patreon, and we were asking him questions about Canada, and I made the mistake of asking him if Alpha Flight is popular in Canada, because Alpha Flight is Canadian X-Men. And he went on this whole tirade about how popular Alpha Flight is and how it has its own museum, and he was clearly trolling me. And then, and apparently they're not any more popular there than they are here. That is the official word on this. And then in the comments, he started trolling people, and some people seem to maybe believe him. So his $6.99.
I saw you reply in the
That's why I told everybody he was trolling them. And then he goes, DC Fandome was okay, but wasn't as good as the official Alpha Flight celebration we do here every year. Even the Queen comes to smile and wave. He's kidding. It's not true. Don't listen to him. Okay, GameSit, thanks for the super chat. Oh my God, Austin, that's great. That's hilarious. Well, Game Station 3, $2 super chat. Watch the Cinemassacre video about them. Well, that was a while back. I don't know what we're talking about because it's been an hour, so I don't know what them is. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But something James Rolfe made about something we talked about an hour ago. It takes a while. I apologize. Okay, I am now going to start from the bottom and run my way up because it's not showing me the rest of the super chats. At the very bottom. Oh, maybe there's just one I've missed. Tom, $2 super chat. Yes, in the proto days is what I'm talking about. I don't know to what we're referring at the moment though. Because we talked about, you know, the early days of Batman and it being a proto suit and all that, but
yeah, Phantasm, Mask of the Phantasm. Okay. Oh, they're talking about The Exorcist.
Oh, is that what we said? Okay. All right. Well, that looks like all the super chats. Guys, we'll stick around for just a couple minutes in case I missed anything because having to go without a moderator tonight. And it makes it harder. It makes it easier to miss stuff. But I think I got everything. So if there's anything I missed, you guys let me know. In the meantime, Dan, this is like a 3-hour show. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you really want to talk about? Just real quick.
No, I think we hit pretty much everything. I think we went about 3 hours last time, too. I mean, you and I can talk forever.
That's true.
Yeah, we went 3 hours and 17 minutes last time.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
We're close.
So this isn't even a record then?
Nope.
Well, I hadn't planned on doing that. Tom's talking about Phantasm from earlier. That's a $2 super chat. What I just wasn't totally sure if he was talking about the Batman, but that's what he's talking about. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think. I mean, the event was good. I'm kind of excited to see because, like, as a gamer, there's been like Xbox has been putting on. They put on a couple events. PlayStation's put on an event. Like with the absence of Comic-Con and E3 at this point. It just really, it's like the death knell for these things.
I had the same thought. Yeah, preparing for this, because I didn't watch all of it at once like you did, it felt like E3 a couple years ago, the last time I did a response to that. And it was like, it was kind of surreal, because it was like, I'm used to doing this with video games, which is the subject I don't know enough about. And this, luckily, was the thing I know things about. And
sure.
I was like, this, at one time, you would have thought of this as way too niche a subject. For one of these.
Yeah. Well, like Jim Lee was talking about at one point, like, you know, if you had, like, in the 90s, you walk around in a Batman shirt or, like, 80s or the 90s, like, way back in the day, if you walk around in a Batman shirt, you might get picked on or whatever. And, like, nowadays, it's an absolutely normal thing. Like, people are walking around with, you know, their fandoms out proud, pretty much.
Now, if you wear a Robin suit, somebody might go, hey, that guy's badass. Last week, I watched a show where he punched a guy repeatedly in the teeth, and the teeth all fell out.
Yeah. Decapitated a dude.
You're not going to get picked on for that.
Yeah.
Actually, you might get picked on the other way. Really? You watched that Titan show? What are you watching that for? That looks terrible.
Yeah.
William Purcell, Cap, did you see my super chat asking if the Snyder Cut being retconned into being canon? I don't understand that sentence. I might have missed you answering it. I don't know if we did talk about that. But that's a thing.
I think we touched on it a little bit. I don't know if we talked about the super chat specifically, but you did mention about like them potentially, if this does well, going on and them kind of just moving forward with the Snyderverse.
Yeah, and that's been, you know, kind of a big question, and there's been a lot of talk again from folks in the know behind the scenes. Midnight's Edge has made videos about this. Grain of salt, they always say. So I mean, I don't know how true this is, and neither do they.
Sure.
But they're talking about from people they know in the know that have been, you know, in the some of the closed rooms talking about this stuff with executives and things that AT&T wants to see if this does well, so that they might, you know, continue it on and keep doing more Snyder-esque stuff, and, you know, make that kind of the vision for the future. The good news for me is, even if that ends up happening, which of course I don't really want, we may get a lot of other things that aren't that, because they have a multiverse now. And so I think gone might be, hopefully, the days where Warner's is constantly going back to the drawing board and trying to reinvent the wheel every time something doesn't perform. We may be past that, regardless of what they do, and so that would be really good. But I don't know. I think that could happen. I don't know. That's all I've got to say about that. But I guess we'll see.
That's all I have to say.
AMC
about
Comics.
that.
Hey, Cap and Dance, have you guys looked up the new Bruce Timm animated Batman movie. No, I haven't yet. I heard that was supposed to happen. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what it is, or I've forgotten what it is. It's weird that didn't get anything in Fandome.
Yeah, I think I had heard about that as well, but didn't. Yeah, I can't remember either. I have heard about it. I just have not myself.
Well, anyway, so yeah, I think we're going to go ahead and close up shop here. I'm fading a little bit. We've been talking for so long. Everybody, thanks so much for watching. We sure appreciate it. Danz, it's been a while. I missed you. Thanks for doing it again. Next time, we'll be back to our normal shenanigans. We'll be talking Robin. We'll be reviewing the highly beloved and much revered Frank Miller's All-Star Batman and Robin. We'll be talking about the GD Batman. So look forward to that. And that'll be fun. I can't wait to see Dan's response to that. Have you read any of that yet? Did you start looking at it? Okay. No. I love that you don't even know what you're getting yourself into yet. That's gonna be
I never know what I'm getting myself into.
The best. Well, spoiler alert. It's different.
Everyone dies.
Yes, Stephen Murphy and eating rats, but I don't want to tell Dan too many things.
Oh my.
All right, so anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks a bunch to all the new viewers who popped in and checked out the show. Hope you enjoyed it. This is not entirely indicative of what we usually do here, except for the going off in tangents, the discussing of Batman, and the talking for much longer than we initially intended. Yeah. Any last words, Dan?
No, I hope to see y'all next time for the new peeps, and yeah, we're usually a little bit more segmented than all over the place like we were today, but yeah, it was always fun, Cap. You and I could talk for hours on end, and I'm sure it'll be exactly the same next time. Oh man, we're like I guess we're like 10 minutes away from the record, so I'm not gonna. We'll break that record next time.
Okay, we'll do that. It'll be, yeah. I mean, I could see 2 hours on that book. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We will see you again next time. I'll be back on Tuesday for another Captain Logan show. On Tuesday, we may talk a little more fandom if anybody brings up other stuff we didn't really talk about Batman related, because there was a Wonder Woman panel and some other things. So if there's anything else folks want to bring up that night, feel free. I'm going to have Kareem guesting, and we're going to be reviewing live on that show the first part of the new Transformers trilogy on Netflix. So look forward to that. I've watched 4 of the 6 episodes now. It is pretty great so far. I'm really enjoying it. So looking forward to talking about that on Tuesday and other stuff. So come on in, and we'll be reviewing that, but we'll also take some questions at the end about whatever you guys want to talk about. So look forward to that and lots more. Also a commentary on Matrix Reloaded coming soon with me and Eric. Look forward to that as well. And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and this was DanzNewz.
This is DanzNewz. I want to do hold on. In the vein of Transformers. Okay, be ready to end the stream, Cap.
No, all right.
All right, you ready? Ready?
Batmosphere, roll.